Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Winter Summit Expo 2020. We're super excited to bring our expo to all of you virtually this time. Our goal is to bring the Silicon Valley startup spirit to you this time through exciting presentations, keynotes, panel discussions, and virtual networking. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Johannes Roth, and I'm leading our corporate partnerships in our smart city verticals, which includes mobility, IoT, energy, and real estate. With that being said, welcome to day 2 of our summit. Today's session will be focused around mobility in the morning and energy in the afternoon. Let's get started right away with the mobility portion of today's event. Before I jump into the opening remarks, I wanted to go over the agenda real quick. After my opening remarks, we will get started right away with the keynote from Robert Falk. Robert is the CEO of Einride, and they're a Swedish autonomous trucking startup. They just recently unveiled a new vehicle type that they're planning to have on the road delivering freight already starting 2021. Following this keynote, we'll have our batch startup presentations. There will be 4 blocks of 6 startups presenting, and each block will be followed by a startup panel. You can submit your questions right here in Zoom in the Q&A section. And after that, we'll have closing remarks, and in the afternoon, we'll have a remote virtual networking session from 1 to 3. I'll cover that in a second. We also wanted to thank everyone who has made this virtual batch possible. Especially in times like this, it is even more impressive to see how our community is collaborating on innovative solutions and partnerships. A big shout out to the startup companies and our corporate partners who have continued to be very involved even during the pandemic. We took this opportunity to put together a video from various of our corporate partners with some thoughts and testimonials, which we'd like to show you now.
Plug and Play engages us with early stage startups which are in strategic alignment with our goals.
Plug and Play is at the center of the Silicon Valley startup ecosystem. Every event they host is a meeting place for creative minds filled with opportunities to exchange ideas.
Listening to our needs, what we're looking for, where we think our gaps are, with helping us achieve our strategic roadmap, and bringing those opportunities to us in a timely manner has been very important and very beneficial to Allison.
Working with Plug and Play is great because it's like an epicenter of great ideas. This is where startups, corporates, and VCs meet to generate new innovation for the future.
Plug and Play enables us worldwide, uncomplicated access to thousands of ideas, startups, and projects.
We really enjoy being a member of Plug and Play since we can meet with many startups.
Plug and Play gives you the resources or that platform to look at hundreds of the startups across geographies.
And we also get to rub shoulders with some other scouts and other companies and VCs that are looking for these. So those interactions are just as important, I think, as the startups sometimes.
The global reach of Plug and Play is truly impressive, as we want to develop new and disruptive solutions, generating new businesses on a global scale.
From the moment you join, you have this global network of startups and corporate partners that you're instantly put into contact.
It's a wonderful way to tap into the vibrancy and everything that's going on in the startup and energy transition ecosystem here in the Valley, but not just the Valley. It's a great way to tap into all the international companies that come and are in residence there.
We like working with Plug and Play because they've given us a platform to work with organizations and partners, not just with their formal list of startup companies, but they've helped us build connections and relationships to the overall ecosystem of startups there in Silicon Valley and beyond.
And this is the only way that we can innovate fast to adapt to the changes so that we can build new business models.
Internal research alone isn't enough to stay competitive these days. Kodo aims to be a part of this change by partnering with technology companies and engaging in collaborative research and development.
It's important to bring others to the table. Plug and Play certainly has done that, and there's a lot of talented opportunities and companies that they bring forward.
Through our technology and background, we believe that we can solve other problems from the other sections. So through the open innovations, we're trying to expand the business and strategy with the collaboration with the startups.
Open innovation is important to us because we believe in bringing the outside in and co-creating solutions together with others.
We always have to look ahead. New topics, projects, ideas.
The area requires wide range of technologies, and I believe collaborative work between companies is the only way to overcome many obstacles.
As the world around us is moving very, very fast, in order to keep up with the pace, we must act in a different way to deliver those disruptive innovations.
As everyone knows, every industry in the world is rapidly changing, and it's impossible for one company to track all these changes by itself at the same time.
We've realized a few years ago that we couldn't do it all ourselves. We really need to reach outside the company to partner with others, and especially to partner with the startups and small companies that are reshaping economies and developing new technologies which will help change the world.
You know, we're not going to solve all of our problems in oil and gas by working with people just from the industry. We need to get outside the box, get outside of our vertical, make connections, connect the dots between industries and geographies.
Opportunities in the smart cities as an overarching theme, and the strategic components are smart manufacturing, smart mobility, and smart energy.
The electric vehicle space not just being the hardware in that space, but also the batteries, the software and controls.
Smart city, especially on the energy and health tech and supply chain.
We're really excited to learn more about emissions, CO2 and carbon capture.
We focus very much on this topic, sustainability.
To develop autonomous driving systems to realize zero traffic accidents.
I think that the sensors and communications, wireless power and data transfer, autonomous vehicles.
Providing a system solution to our current and new customers or clients will be a key aspect to make success.
5G, wearables, LiDAR, advanced materials, and Industry 4.0.
We're focused in decarbonization, in the electrification of transport and mobility services.
Some of the things we're most excited about are continuing our focus on operational excellence, improving our safety, improving our reliability, lowering our cost, and improving the environmental footprint of our operations.
All right. Again, I would like to thank our whole community to make our innovation ecosystem as successful as it is today. This success is because of all of you. With that being said, now I'd like to talk about the networking part of this event real quick. We will have a remote networking session where you will be able to meet the startups as well as the other attendees virtually. We will transition over to this networking platform at 1 p.m. And the session will last until 3 p.m. So you will have plenty of time to talk to all the startups you're interested in. You can scan the QR code right down here with your phone, or you can access the platform at the link mentioned on this slide here. And this is what you can expect to see at the remote platform. Let me quickly walk you through how the platform works. Each startup will have their own table, and it will state the startup's name right under each table so you can find them easily. You can join any of these tables by simply double-clicking on that table. The table's maximum is 6 people. So if the table is full, please jump on over to another table and come back to this table later on. In the upper right-hand corner, you can update your profile. Please do so. Please add a picture, add a company logo, update your name, and add a LinkedIn or your website. This makes the whole experience for all the attendees even better and easier to connect with each other. At the bottom of the screen, you can find the controls to turn on and off the camera and microphone, and the chat box where you can chat directly with one person or the entire table you're at. If you have troubles with your camera or microphone, you can always check the settings by simply clicking the 3 little lines in the upper left-hand corner. On the left-hand side, you can see which floor you're on. This time we have 3 different floors. Floor 1 and 2 will be focused on startups, and you can network one-on-one on floor 3 with any of the attendees. We have also labeled where you can find our plug-and-play help desk in case you have any questions or you would like to chat with a member of our team. Before I hand it over to the first keynote speaker, I also wanted to give you an update on our Detroit activities. As you know from our previous updates, we have been working on establishing a new platform in Detroit for quite some time now. And we're super excited that we just recently officially kicked off our Batch 0 in Detroit. I wanted to give our Plug and Play Detroit founding partners a big shout out. Those founding partners made the launch of this platform possible, and we're looking forward to all the upcoming activities and events in Detroit. The founding partners in Detroit include FCA and MMSTC, who joined us as the first partners in January of this year, BorgWarner, who joined us shortly after, and just recently Planet M joined us as a founding partner as well. On this slide, you can see the timeline of the activities we had so far, and we're looking forward to have many more exciting events going forward. And just 2 weeks ago, we had our Meet the Batch Startups meetup, where we announced our Batch 0 startups. You can see here which startups got accepted in the current program, and the technology focus areas in the current batch are focusing on applied AI, autonomy and sensing, urban and last mile mobility, vehicle technologies, and propulsion and electrification. Please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions regarding our program in Detroit. Myself and our Detroit team members, Adam and Logan, will be participating in our remote networking session later on as well, and we'll have a dedicated table there. All right, let's get started with our first keynote. After this keynote, my colleague Marc Boucher will take it over from there and walk you through the event. With that being said, passing it over to Robert Falk, CEO from Einride.
Great, thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here. And we are starting up the days coming to end here in Stockholm, and it's a great pleasure to be here. And we've been proud members of Plug and Play for a long time, and I must take this opportunity to be very grateful and send a special thank you to the whole team behind Plug and Play. It's also always a pleasure to be part of your events and host and present what we are doing. We're also proud to have them as, here we are. Are we all set? Does it work now? Great. So I'm here to a little bit to present what we do at Einride. We had a very exciting year. It's been also, of course, a challenging team or a year for like everyone else. And when we started 2020, I think that we had a different plan when we ended up executing on. But for overall, we had made great progress over the last couple of years. And next slide. And what we do at Einride is literally to bring all of the trends on the mega trends together into one. What we are doing and creating is to putting together the technology that's required to create a completely new type of transport technology. We're literally using autonomous, electric, 5G to combine in a completely new way of thinking about transport. We have been at it since 2016. And we have made some great progress. But the last a couple of months, I think we are at a major milestone for us. And we actually, as a founder, it is very pleasant to be able to take and do a little bit what you like to do. And one of the goals that I wanted to do is to take the pod or transport pod, as you see, to the Top Gear track. Next slide, please. So we set the ambition early, and it's a film. So please, if you press, it will start, hopefully here. So we took the, literally the pod, one of our test pods, the Top Gear track in Melstone, UK, to set the speed record, the fastest autonomous electric vehicle around the top. And this is, of course, a milestone for us. We have to showcase that we now reach a speed of the full speed for autonomous electric pods. So we are doing an ambition with all of this, but to be able to do 85 kilometers per hour. It's roughly what is required for a truck. Literally doing full speed. And on the 15th of October, we set out to make it happen. And I just want to showcase you, as I think that everyone here is interested in technology. And this was great fun to do. And it got the whole team extremely excited, but it also gave us a good opportunity to showcase how we are introducing a different way of thinking about transport, but also a different way how to see autonomous. Because when we launched the new product, we also launched different versions of them, where we call AET is autonomous electric transport, but we do it in different levels. 1 and 2 is fenced off and with fenced off close by. But what we're displaying here, and the video we'll see shortly, is when from the launch of the AET4, where literally full operational or full highway speeds. And we are looking to launch and get it to market during 2022. So next slide, please. And as of course, as an engineer and a founder, and next slide, so the film starts. This is of course super exciting. And for those are shows that are fans of this series Top Gear, would recognize the track. And we literally set out to do one top speed track with the pod. And what we've done with the whole pod and everything involved with it is to create a system that works to make it remove the safety driver from the operation. So there is no driver in the vehicle. And what we have in the vehicle itself is that allows us to remove the safety driver from the and actually develop software platform, and we utilize a modular approach, making a step-by-step approach of autonomous happen. And as you can see, we are making a really good time, and most actually standard cars would actually struggle a little bit to keep up with it. And as you can see, we are reaching good speeds here. And this is of course something that we are very proud of and very glad for, that we are able to take the next step here for this solution. As you can see, we are also incorporated literally full design of a new vehicle. And we're extremely glad to be able to have all of this represented in setting. And of my knowledge, there's no one else in the world right now doing what we do. And combining autonomous, removing the driver from the vehicle itself. And I think that we are seeing here is a little bit of the piece of how the future will look like. And if you just make a breakdown, the equation for the math behind it, this is how the vehicle will look like. This is also how the technology will deploy. Because this is the smartest, cheapest way to transport. And as you can see, it actually can be done in the speed required or legal. And I think that everyone are very curious how we ended up time to get around the track. And I think that you need to be quite a skilled driver to beat the time just over 2 minutes to get around the complete track. And of course it was great fun, and it also gave us the recognition and the ambition to get the economists did a great piece on what we did and what we are doing with it. You just realized it was a bit long here to present, but as a founder, of course, you're extremely proud that you've been able to do it. It was so much fun as an engineer to do this as well. But yeah, complete time was 2:44. So, and of course, since it's official forum, I of course challenge everyone else to do it even better with a full complete truck or lorry. Next slide, please. So what we do with Android is literally combining the new technologies, because we literally do, next slide, please. And what we do with Android is literally to create a solution for autonomous and electric. So what we've done is literally throw out the complete legacy structures and design the transport system from the ground up. Next slide, please. And the problem we are addressing at the core is that heavy freight transport stands for between 7 to 8% of global CO2 emissions. And as previously working in the automotive industry, I also realized why the industry wasn't moving that fast as it could. And there's also a great business opportunity, because if you rethought the whole industry from the ground up, you also realize you can do something completely different. And this is one of the most growing costs for all the transport out there. And at the core of it, no one could provide autonomous or electric. And that's literally what we solve for our clients. So we address the clients that are the shippers, the ones that are the transport needs, and create autonomous and electric transport solutions for them. So next slide, please. And with the challenge, going electric and autonomous requires centralized transport management to make it cost competitive and sustainable. So for us, it hasn't been around the vehicles, even if the vehicle is an enabler for the future. What we're doing here and now is to work with the clients to design how their electric and autonomous transport solution would look like. And next slide, please. And of course, the scarcity of electric and electric autonomous are hard to access in today's market. So what we set out 4 years ago was to solve that for our clients. Next slide, please. And the solution for the shipper clients, the ones who doesn't have their own trucks that literally rely on transport, is a freight mobility platform that makes it possible to go electric and autonomous today. So what we do together with our clients is to create and develop a solution for their transport needs that's electric and electric autonomous. And if you go to the next slide, please. And these are what we are live with together with customers in the Nordic settings. We are live with customers with a freight mobility platform. We are live with electric transport. So we have the biggest electric truck fleet in Europe. And we also have live testing with electric autonomous vehicles, what we call AT1 and 2. That's fenced off areas and fenced off nearby on public roads. So literally what we have here is the future of transport. And we're the first to market with these kind of solutions. And for a company presentation, we are literally in the next step. We are scaling and we have massive customers. And our ambition now is that we are going to the US. So we are doing the first pilots for autonomous electric during 2021. And we have a whole staff here and starting up in the US. So we are super excited about that because our core belief is that the future of mobility is going to be created in the US. And I think that the competitiveness of the US market is going to drive this change. And if you just look at the numbers, autonomous electric is the future. It's cheaper than a diesel engine, and it's actually more competitive than just a driver setup as well. But that said, the truck drivers have a very important role to follow to fill in the next equation, and that's to be in the operators of an autonomous electric fleet. So if you go to the next slide, please. All of this, of course, we call intelligent movement. And at the core of what we've done is to literally rethink the transport system in the systematic approach that the system is. Literally 80% of transport is repetitive and predictable. That means that the bulk of transport is actually, I wouldn't say boring, but it's predictable. And if we start to work from that perspective, you can also get and create an extremely cost competitive technology. If you look at the fill rate in the overall transport market today, we look at less than 20%. At the same time, most trucks are utilized less than 30% of the time. So looking at the machining system, that's less with the efficiency of less than 60%. If that was a factory or any other machining system, you're probably going to get instantly fired. But in transport, apparently it's okay, but we are changing that. And next slide, please. And I think it's important to understand what this change really is. Because I think a lot of the industry that we are facing when it comes to autonomous and everything involved in it, as one of my favorite stories is from when we started to fly. There was a massive project that was well funded by the US government for creating the magic and starting to fly. But there were these Wright brothers working out of literally bike shop that created the first airplane. And I think that's the same approach that autonomous will adapt it. It's not going to be a silver bullet or like, well, it's going to be a step by step. But because at the core, it's about the business case behind it and applications. And running and operating autonomous electric transport is complicated, but it breaks down to use cases and actual need from the customers. So if you go to the next slide, please. This is where we started, and this is almost a year and a half now. So if press start to move it, please.
Now, for many companies around the world, this has become something of a holy grail, the self-driving vehicle. Big names such as Google and Amazon invested millions in the technology. Now, a company in Sweden says it has pioneered a global first on an autonomous lorry that drives on a public road. BBC's Tim Orman has more.
They call it the T-Pod. It's not very big, it's not very fast, but it is potentially revolutionary. This is, we are told, the first driverless lorry let out on a public road. Not a very long road, mind you, but we've all got to start somewhere.
And this is, of course, the step-by-step approach that we've done at Android, allowing us to bring it to the market, bring it to the clients, allowing us to start to operate, learn, and adapt, and move forward. So we are on a good track to start to make real money, and we have a great order book, and we are scaling. We are live with customers. We are making money, and that's why you learn and how you learn to make operational, how you can make things autonomous and electric. We're not able to go everywhere, but logistics is not everywhere. It's these kind of environments. And that's why it's so important to work very closely with the clients and with the customers and gaining the experience and the volumes to make this happen. And if you go to the next slide, please. This is where we started. It's 300 meters, and we've been going back and forth here, transporting goods for DB Schenker between these two warehouses. Getting experience, learning, but this is 300 meters. And that's also the first step that the Wright brothers took. That was 300 meters. And this is how the autonomous will start and happen. I don't think it magically will be a massive fleet can drive everywhere and suddenly. When it comes to literally getting the driver out of the vehicle, doing it remotely, you need to do it step by step, maturing, learning, and adapting, because that's transport. And at the core of it, it breaks down to how much can someone pay you to transport goods between these 2 points. And that's the business behind transport. And that's the $2,000 billion market. Not the hardware, literally the business case of transporting something. Next slide, please. And this is how it looks like when it's actually being done. Literally a pod that goes back and forth between 2 different locations. And if you go to the next slide, please. And of course, developing this technology as something that's also quite a lot of exploring to do, because no one has literally done what we do before. And something we started out and doing when we set out was that we wanted to create a system that was durable, agile, and actually suitable for transport. And one of the challenges is, of course, that if you want to make the business case become autonomous transport to actually work, you need to get the driver out of the vehicle, because just the extra utilization you can get from having one driver in multiple vehicles is one of the core enablers for the whole business case. So what we have pioneering and what we are doing now is to control multiple vehicles using one operator. That means that a fleet of vehicles, and our ambition is to get to 10 vehicles per operator, gives us the agility to handle that human transport interaction, but also gives us the agility to actually handle situations remotely that autonomous systems are not suitable for. So what we utilize for the autonomous for the business case, electric for the business case, and the driver for the agility and the service. And if you go to the next slide, please. And I do apologize for the music in the background. Actually, it was muted in the presentation, but I think it suits quite well. And here you see that the one driver is literally controlling and operating with multiple vehicles from a control center, logging, doing the agility and doing the flexibility, with another pod coming. And you literally switch pod to controlling, and you have that agility to be able to control the vehicle again with a great business case and agility remotely. And we still, as you can see, have to work a little bit on the filling rate, but overall, it's actually very cool to see this being done live. And for us, it's all about the scaling in the next phase and applying these kind of applications. What we've seen here now is what we call AT1 and 2, literally the public road and the remote area. So if you go to the next slide, please. And press another one. What you can see here is that we're literally in a phase now, scaling down new technology, increasing the ability, increasing the speed, and showing that these kind of autonomous electric transport vehicles, we are not able to do every application yet, but there's so many applications out there and so much potential for going both sustainable and a great competitive business case that this transition is started. It's not tomorrow, it's in progress. And these kind of applications will be increasingly common in the next few years. But my predictions, just from an industrial perspective, is that we literally in 2025 will have thousands of these vehicles in operations. And with the clients and the way we work with, we see already the benefits of this new technology, both from the environment and the sustainability angle, but also from a system and cost competitiveness. Because this has the potential to disrupt the complete industry. And our clients, was a question here, maybe we can ask part at the end, but our ambition is to build a completely new way of doing it and thinking about transport. So we consider this to be more of a new railway and than actually a trucking industry. Because our ambition to work with our clients, go to the next slide, please. To build a new type of freight transport system, an infrastructure that is both sustainable and cost disruptive. So we see it more as a transporting system than we see it as a unit itself. And that's been the core of everything we do. That's also why we can have electric, because electric and autonomous combine each other. So literally becomes 1 + 1 doesn't become 2, it becomes 3. These two technologies has a destructive nature, but if combining, this is a transition that will be equivalent for logistics when we went from sailboats to steam engines, or when we went from horseback to trains, or when we went from trains to lorries. This business case, and the best business case I've seen with these kind of applications, is literally cost savings of up to 90%. So this will be a massive transition for the whole logistic industry. And it's not tomorrow, it's happening now. If you come to Sweden and the US next year, you will start it actually being operated. Not everywhere, it's not going to replace everything at once. That's not how technology changes work. But once the industrial power and business case behind it, somewhere close to 2025, this transition will happen very quickly. I think and predict that at the end of this decade, this will overtake transport and be the norm for how transport is being done. Not for everything, but for a bulk of it. Next, please. And I think it's most important about all of these applications, and I think that all those setups, it's not everywhere. And this is based on a hub setup that one of our clients have. And as you can see, we can assess and that depending on the how frequent they are and where we can potentially do with a business case. And also kind of breaks down to 5G, where do we have the connectivity? Because everyone said that we want to be autonomous and not have the connectivity. I always reply with a simple fact is that, yeah, if you want to go autonomous and don't have the connectivity, where the hell is my truck? Because if you don't have a driver in the equation, you need to be connected with it. Otherwise, you will not be able to monitor it, and you'll not be able to see where it is. And that doesn't sound like a very efficient transport system for me. And our ambition is to create a new type of infrastructure of transport with our clients, working with a hub and spoke to design and develop electric and autonomous transport systems. And that's what we started with. We are live with a lot of customers right now, and the ambition is to start to go live in the US during 2021. This next slide, please. And this is the new updated design that we launched for 83 and 4. And this is also what we will start to see and being operated in the US during next year. And we have some big and super exciting clients that we will reveal in the coming months here. And yeah, we are super excited to be able to take the next step. And this is how the future of transport looks. You can design it, you can rethink it, a little bit rework it, but at the core, the basic math behind it, this is how the future will look like. And it's as autonomous and an electric, and we plan to be the first to scale it. Thank you. Any questions? I think I had a question here, and maybe can answer them quickly until someone from Plug and Play interrupts here. But we have several customers. Not everyone are official yet, but those include Coca-Cola, DB Schenker, and Lidl, and we have between 6 and 7 Fortune 500 companies that are our clients. And yeah, we have a lot of shipper customers. We are not sort of say selling the hardware. That's not our business. We are sourcing, and we have the same strategy as a lot of the tech companies has. We work with the OEMs, our manufacturing partners. Literally when it breaks down to these kind of applications. Let's see here.
Hey, Robert, this is Mark with Plug and Play. Wanted to say thanks so much for jumping in and fielding these questions as well. I think we maybe have a moment to take a few more questions.
Sure.
So I think you see them kind of coming up here in the chat. And for everyone in the audience, chat is great, but you can use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen to submit questions as well throughout the event. But I'll let you take a few more of these questions since you can see them coming in.
Absolutely. When it comes to liability, I think that the ones developing a tech is, of course, liable for the safety of the tech. That's like every other technology development. Then it's going to be about sorting out exactly who has the liability, because I think that the ones will be liable, it will be the truck driver. Since we have a truck driver in the equation, if he is going to be the person responsible for the safety of the vehicle itself. How are we going to see Tesla's autonomous electric trucks with your offering? I think that Tesla hopefully will also see the very strange way of thinking about the future of autonomous electric with a cab. I think that's a little bit not. I have a great respect for Musk and his ambitions and his pioneering spirit, but to keep the cab, I still think it's a little bit 2015.
And then I think we do have to kind of get going to the other sessions, but I wanted to give a big round of virtual applause and thank you to you, Robert, for joining and sharing your vision with us. You should be able to type in answers as well into the Q&A if you want to address some of those lingering questions. But again, thanks so much for joining.
Thank you, and have a great day.
Definitely. And hello again, everyone. My name is Mark. I'm a Ventures Associate with Plug and Play. Super pumped to be here as today's MC and getting to the bulk of our content for today's summit, which is our startup presentations. And we're super pleased to have a number of founders on the line. Again, if you joined yesterday, the format is going to be similar. We'll be doing brief presentations from the founders and then going into a little Q&A panel where you'll be able to, again, submit your questions using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. And we'll get to those with the founders live on the line. So without further ado, this first little session here, we're going to be focusing on autonomy and autonomy adjacent technologies. So kind of flowing through from what Robert was telling us about Einride and what they're working on, but we'll kick it off with Mario from ivex talking a little bit more about safe autonomy specifically.
Good morning, everybody. I am Mario Torres, CEO and co-founder of ivex. We created ivex 2.5 years ago, after years of doing research in the field of safe and autonomous systems. We believe it is possible to reduce the number of traffic victims to 0 by 2030. That's why we took for our mission to make autonomous driving and ADAS, advanced driver assistance systems, really safe. When you are in Silicon Valley, it's very usual to see autonomous cars driving around. What is common to all those cars is that there is always a safety driver behind the wheels. Why is that? The problem is that autonomous cars can drive, but they're not safe yet. The systems are very complex and they rely on different types of probabilistic technologies. Our solution is to use our deterministic technology to solve the main challenges surrounding the safe deployment of autonomous cars and ADAS-enabled cars on the roads. Our tools work as an extra safety net, allowing autonomous driving and ADAS makers to drastically improve their verification and validation efforts. Our technology is explainable. We can show the reasons that our software decides that a certain situation is unsafe or safe, or it's violating the safety model. Our algorithms are deterministic, and we are the only company focusing 100% on safety. The market for autonomous driving cars and ADAS is very large, having hundreds of players. We're talking about an $81 billion market from which software is becoming a growing part. We have a great team helping ivex move forward. We're backed by top Belgian investors who are looking at the future of ivex. In the past, we worked already with VDL, a bus maker from the Netherlands. We worked for more than a year with Renault on a very successful project with their AV team in France. Currently, we are working with Case New Holland, which is one of the biggest tractor makers in the world, in an autonomous tractor project. Based on a bottom-up analysis we have done considering our current customers and the indication we have for the value our software brings to them, we expect to have a revenue of $39 million by 2025, while keeping our costs down. We're looking for strategic investors who know how the automotive market operates and are willing to help us in the long run, especially knowing that the long sales cycles from automotive companies. we would also love to get in contact with decision makers from the automotive sector who could benefit from our solutions. Thank you very much, and let's do business.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Mario. And we are going to roll right into our next startup. We're going to take a little bit more of a truck-focused approach with Traxen and what they're building in terms of assistive technologies for trucking. So I'll let Ali take it away.
We're a Michigan-based startup, and we are increasing the trucking industry's profit margins by 50%. We are doing this using our AI-enabled advanced driver assistance system called IQ Cruise. Hi, my name is Ali Malaki. I am the founder and CEO of Traxen. The massive trucking industry suffers from razor-thin margins. Earning a few more pennies per mile can make the difference between thriving or going out of business. Fuel cost is one of their top operating costs. Our solution reduces this cost by 10%, which translates to a 50% net margin improvement. There are other product benefits, such as reducing the driver costs by making the driving task easier, improving the end-to-end logistics, and providing great insight from big data. IQ Cruise works by utilizing perception sensors, maps, GPS, and artificial intelligence to fully control the speed of the vehicle while the driver steers. IQ Cruise responds optimally to immediate traffic, upcoming grades and curves, congestion, and weather conditions. The outcome is full trip, fuel-efficient speed management, which is quite unique and novel. In fact, no one else is doing this. The traditional providers are supplying low intelligence adaptive cruise control solutions today without much customer payback. The full autonomy developers are working on solutions that will not gain any meaningful levels of adoption for another 8 to 12 years. We are the only novel solution that provides an AI-based adaptive cruise control solution that is transformational to the trucking industry. This market is massive. To gain quick market share, our beachhead is the US aftermarket with 1.8 million trucks at a total size of 10 billion. Our later market will be the new trucks manufactured by OEMs globally with an annual $6 billion market size. Over the last 2 years, we have completed the hardware and software development to production readiness. We have filed 8 patents. We have 7 trucking fleet customers who are preparing their pilot phase with us, and we have proven the 10% fuel efficiency improvement. Let me show you the proof. We have trained IQ Cruise using 1.5 million miles of customer data and ran tens of thousands of miles hauling actual customer loads with it. In July 2020, we conducted a cross-country side-by-side field trial. Our average fuel saving during this trial, as certified by the country's leading independent freight efficiency council, NACFE, was 7%. We have improved this since then to an average of 10%. This has all been made possible by our incredible team of 20 engineers with more than 200 years of automotive and truck industry experience. We have a highly seasoned board of directors and a strong advisory board who have led many successful startups and exits. We're currently raising $2.5 million to complete our pilots, launch our first product, and reach more than $1 million of revenue. The exit options for an AI autonomous vehicle company with paying customers are very attractive. The potential acquirers may be from inside of the trucking industry supply chain or by another AV company for our IP, market share, and data. My contact info is here, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you for your time and attention, and my best to you all.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Ali. That was super wonderful to hear the traction and kind of progress to date. And we are going to move right along to talk more about some sensing side technologies with Bitsensing, our next startup. So super pumped to have Joni join us and explain more about what they're building across a range of different radar sensing technologies.
Hi, this is Johnny Jung from Bitsensing, and I am responsible for business development at Bitsensing. The generation for autonomous vehicle is arriving, but there is still no perfect yet cost-effective sensor that enables self-driving car to be fully operated in every weather condition. LiDAR is generally used as a main sensor for self-driving car, but it is super expensive and its functionality is deteriorated under the bad weather condition. Bitsensing is innovating the radar sensing ability by allowing the radar to generate images just like LiDAR. It will be a cost-effective and weather-insensitive sensor that can replace LiDAR. And this is how we are making radar brilliant. So this is the vision that you could see in the current automotive radar sensor. And as you can see, this is not the sort of image you'd expect for self-driving car. So firstly, we use multi-chip cascading technique to improve the vision. So it's like having more pixels. And then to have additional pixels for enhanced vision, we are rearranging the antenna through virtual array technique. And we get images just like this. And this is how we make images solely through radar. We then blend camera function into our imaging radar solution to support the radar vision and enable AI to stabilize the performance. Since the radar is the only sensor that's unaffected by the weather condition, the augmented imaging radar by Bitsensing will become an effective yet affordable solution that would fulfill the requirements of auto manufacturers around the world. We are going to have our very first working demo of 4D imaging radar by November this year. So that's less than 100 days from now. And 4D imaging radar is our ultimate goal, and we have some other product lines of radar, which includes traffic radar and in-cabin sensing radar, which all aim to enhance the safety of automotive experiences. Bitsensing has just raised $6 million for the pre-Series A round from leading AV players in Korea, and are currently engaged with numerous firms in the automotive field for the radar applications. Bitsensing is the team with exceptional radar engineers who have mass production experience in automotive radar, and that we have A to Z radar solution and are able to meet the needs of our clients effectively. So this is how we want to design future safety, especially in the era of self-driving car. So if you are interested in applying radar solution or want to talk more in depth, please come and visit our booth. Thank you so much for your time today. This was Bitsensing.
Great, thanks, Joni. And then for the last but not least final startup for our first little session here around safety and autonomy, we're going to have Barry from Provizio present about the accident prevention technologies that they're building. Super excited to have him on the line and present what they're working on.
Hi everyone, I'm Barry Lunn. I'm the founder and CEO of Provizio, and it's great to be back at Plug and Play to give an update on the incredible progress we've made over the last number of weeks. First, a reminder of the massive problem we're addressing. Preventable human error causes over 90% of car accidents, and that all comes down to lack of driver vision and foresight, especially in speed and in weather. Provizio perceives, predicts, and prevents accidents in real time using unique imaging data and machine learning. Early detection and foresight saves lives. Today's vehicle only have 1/10 of the range required to prevent accidents at highway speeds, and the next generation of sensors only gets us halfway there, and that's where Provizio comes in. We're 10xing range and resolution to prevent accidents using our augmented driving platform. Only when we achieve 5-star safety can we start talking about level 5 autonomy. And the market is huge. Our addressable market includes imaging sensors and the advanced driving assistance software that augment driving behavior. Yole identified this market as being worth $9 billion today and growing to $22 billion by 2025. So what have we achieved recently? Well, we have built the world's first 5D imaging radar. And by 5D, we mean 3D with the addition of radar velocity data, and for the first time ever, perception, AI on the edge for the 5th dimension of safety in sensor. We've 10x range, and we're on a path to 10xing the angular resolution. We have a high fidelity point cloud that allows us to map and classify and track all moving objects and background infrastructure. And as you can see here, our radar allows us to see beyond the line of sight of the camera or LiDAR sensor to allow us to predict imminent proximity car braking. And when we zoom right out, you can see that we are tracking vehicles right out to 600 meters, way beyond human vision. We've also grown our very experienced team with the addition of engineering talent with previous experience in places like Argo, Uber, Jaguar Land Rover, and General Motors. We've closed and announced our seed funding round of $6.2 million with incredible private and institutional investors with a huge amount of industry experience. We've had a lot of engagement with both traditional and corporate investment arms regarding participation in our Series A in 2021. And finally, we've had incredible engagement from you, the industry. Our tech has been evaluated and our designs modified by the feedback of the industry. We're engaged with over 10 top OEMs, more than 5 top tier ones, and we're in talks with 3 of the most advanced autonomous driving groups about adopting the technology. Most of this was during COVID lockdown, where we continued with virtual evaluations. For 2021, we want to partner with you for everything from virtual and physical evaluations to pilots right through to commercial supply. So thank you, and we look forward to continuing to work with you.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Barry. And I think with that, we are going to cruise right along to our mobility Q&A panel number 1 of our summit today. So I'm going to give a second for our fine friends from ivex, Traxen, Bitsensing, and Provizio to unmute and share their video. Hey, so we got ivex, we got Mario, Barry, good to see you. Ali, we think we got you as well. And let's see, we got a few questions coming in too. Who are we missing? Joni from Bitsensing, we got you here. Well, welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining. It's great to have you online, and we have a few questions rolling in, but I think maybe we'll get to those later on down the road in these kind of 10 or so minutes that we have. But wanted to kick it off with kind of a question, since everyone here is looking at different elements of, what safety means for autonomy and for vehicles of the future. And, certainly I think driving towards a collective vision zero that's been outlined, at least in the United States. I'm wondering where, and maybe each of you want to take a different approach to this, but where do you see holes in the tech that's needed to actually accomplish vision zero or to accomplish full automotive safety? Because I think some of these technologies address different points, but maybe you see beyond that of areas where some tech is missing in the stack. And I'm curious to hear about what you think on that side of things. So whoever wants to take this one, you just jump right in.
Well, I'm happy to answer that one, Mark, if you want. Barry from Provizio. I suppose the big gap we see, and rather than talk about, I think we made a marketing mistake talking about autonomy far too early before we address the edge cases that leads to the carnage on the road. So if you automate human weakness, which is what vision sensors tend to do, then you're going to automate the reason we crash. So I suppose the approach we're taking is sort vision and foresight. You have to be able to see things early, and you have to be able to see them beyond the line of sight, or essentially we're just going to scale automotive carnage. So really that's the approach we're taking, seeing beyond the line of sight, seeing out to really long distances, and seeing accidents before they happen, and having the AI on the edge, not bringing it back to a supercomputer and doing some computing. AI on the edge, making the decisions about that. What is it? What trajectory is it coming at? And do I need to worry about it? So that'd be our difference of approach, I think.
For sure. And maybe this is a question that maybe a little bit of a collaborative one with Mario from ivex as well. About, are you thinking about integrating kind of safety, I guess, into the algorithms themselves of building the AI at the edge that's explainable as well? Because I think that's something that, I think Mario, we've spoken about in the past as well.
Yeah, I think that's a very good question, and the answer from Barry is very good as well. And he touches into something which I completely agree, that besides being able to look better, let's say, to see beyond what, let's say, the cameras and so on can see, actually one of the challenges is how do you prove that your decision making is sound? Because it doesn't really help only to see ahead, but you also have to understand what are the intentions of other road users, and how can you take those intentions into account in a way that you still have a system that minimizes the risk of driving, but that you still have a drivable, a usable system, a usable car. Because there is no way to be, let's say, 100% safe. The only way is like locking your car in a garage, and then hopefully nothing will happen. But then I believe that part of the technology we have to evolve into, there's a lot of very good neural nets and so on, even to take decisions. But the point is, can you make them explainable? Can you guarantee that your car will always take the right decision given the current environment around the car? And that's what we are working at ivex, of course.
For sure, for sure. And I think there's also maybe a conversation that maybe Ali, you want to touch on around not necessarily building for full autonomy, but building to augment the existing drivers. And I think something that was interesting that you mentioned in your presentation is that you've done 1.5 million miles on the road. And I'm wondering what you see, from the safety perspective. I think, there are other aspects of Traxen in the technology that you're building that I think, around fuel efficiency and economy and things like that. But I'm wondering if you've seen anything from driving that much and having your system working for that amount of time in the safety side of things as well.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. So the way we're looking at it, I mean, obviously there is the perception and the compute redundancy and diversity of sensors to get all the sensing and perception in, and then to get all the actuation out, you need to have, again, redundancy and safety. But the driving task is a whole lot more complex than just being able to do a robotic control of the vehicle on the road. The truck drivers, they smell whether there's a wheel end fire, if you're dragging because you have water in the airlines and you have you're dragging a tire. There's shifting loads that you're driving down the road. So the fully autonomous solutions are going to be made from the ground up. They're going to have a whole new layer of sensing and actuation and self-diagnostics. So what we're doing is we're building towards that future autonomy in a more incremental way to drive some value to the fleets. We have all developed a lot of AI and sensing and compute power over the last 10 to 15 years, convolutional neural networks and deep neural networks and RL and all of the things that we've developed. How do we apply that to drive value today? And that's what we're doing with Traxen. And we're focusing on the biggest cost component, the second biggest cost component, which is fuel. So, and because we are still leaving the steering task, the primary part of the driving task to the driver, we curtail a lot of the driverless safety issues. All we need to do is have enough redundancy to be able to safely alert the driver when something fails. And obviously, we are seeing a lot of cases on the road. We go on-ramp to off-ramp 90% of the time engaged. And the times that the driver overrides are obviously the times that the system is not doing something that the driver wants. They're not often safety overrides, they're just preference overrides, which we're still tuning to have a more of a humanistic type drive.
Super cool insight. And I think maybe we do have some questions in here in our Q&A that hoping to get to in the final few minutes here. And maybe for Joni at Bitsensing, a question here about elaborating on the resolution, how the resolution by the radar is improved beyond a traditional beam width for your technology. Maybe a little bit technical, but hopefully we can get to it.
Well, traditionally, radar only has a horizontal vision, so it cannot visualize vertical. So what we're trying to do is a vertical Elizabeth vision as well. So that's the main difference for the imaging radar. And the Bitsensing for the imaging radar is unique in the context that it utilizes fusion sensing technology. So while the image generation through radar is possible with techniques such as multi-chip cascading and virtual array, we are having vision to support the radar image and allow radar to learn better about different situations. So it's quite different to what the question is, but I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, definitely. And I think maybe going back to a question for Traxen, how does a trip time compare when you're saving 10% fuel? Is there a certain trade-off with trip time and distance, I guess, or what does that look like?
Yeah, the surprising fact is when we set out to do this, that was the big question. If you slow the vehicle down, you're going to save fuel. But the surprising fact is that we're not seeing any substantial slowdown, where in fact, in some cases, we get better speed, and it depends on the terrain. So the fuel saving at the very basis, it's an inertial management problem that we're solving. And then there's additional, like Mario was saying, there's all of this connectivity and all of this extended perception that the driver doesn't have.
So if you provide all of this information to the driver, 3 miles of electronic horizon that we know of because of our 3D maps. So there's a lot more information, as well as the end-to-end logistics. When you leave Depot A, let's say you leave Detroit and you're going to Chicago, and there's a bunch of surface roads you have to take, there's a bunch of freeway roads you have to take, there's an arrival time of estimate, and there's an hour of service requirement. The driver can't in his head optimize that. So in some areas, he's going to end up going slower than he should, and in some areas, it's going to go faster. So the trip time overall, the AI will solve that a lot more efficiently than the driver could. Now, you could have a driver with 30+ years of experience that knows exactly what he has to do in each route, but that means you have higher driver cost. So we haven't seen a major trade-off. When we do side-by-side, and that side-by-side trip that we did, we saw very much less than 1% slowdown in what we did. And if that was a realistic trip where you have a time of arrival requirement, we would probably do better.
For sure. For sure. We have some fun questions for Barry at Provizio as well. Can you apply what you're building to motorcycles? I think that's a little left field one. And then a question around comparing to Honda's sensing that they provide and Subaru's EyeSight. They reduce accidents even though features are limited. And they're wondering if your technologies are in the same category or if you think of what you're building as a little bit different from that.
I love being able to answer 2 questions with absolutely and absolutely, but yeah, absolutely. Firstly, on motorcycles, I ride motorcycles and it's so important to me. One of the most important things, not only can, like, we have a flexible front end, so we can adjust our product to whatever the application. So motorcycles will have different requirements to trucking and cars, and of course we can adapt to that. But the most important thing is we can see motorcycles and we can see them at decent distances. So when every other sensor suite talks about what they can see, they talk about 250 meters coming next year. They're actually talking about cars. For motorcycles, that's back at 100 meters. So we appreciate motorcycles are going to be sharing our roads for some times, and maybe let's not kill the riders like me. The second question, absolutely, that's exactly where we fit in. I guess the difference in approach that we're taking is we're totally focused on what causes road deaths and what causes accidents. The range, I mean, those systems that are there at the moment are limited by the sensors that exist. And I guess we're kind of agnostic in terms of the sensor type. So we use radar, we use LiDAR, we use camera. We just use them at their optimal. And I guess that's the key thing for us. So we're operating like literally more than 10x the range of the systems you just described in all directions. And that's really the only way we can have a safe, shared road environment, you know? So that's really the kind of our difference, but 100%. What we want is we're a cooperative approach. We want to work with all these guys. If they've got a preference on cameras, we'll adapt to that, you know? So it's really about having a platform that we can all share.
Sweet. So vision, I think we can all get behind. And I think maybe a final question to the group here before we kind of wrap up is one that we've been trying to pose to founders as we have them on, which is, I think specifically in this case, it would be interesting to talk a little bit and get some insight on how you all have been dealing with COVID, specifically as it relates to working in the automotive industry, where, you know, a lot of the relationships that I'm sure you all are trying to build with your potential clients are pretty intensive to begin with. And I'm wondering, you know, have you found any ways, due to COVID, everything's virtual, any tips or tricks for working with automotive partners and building out your businesses during these weird times?
I'll go. So in terms of product development and software development activity, it hasn't impacted us. The good thing about being nerds is that we can write code from anywhere. And we've been kind of self-quarantining way before there was COVID, because we get our tan from the CRT monitors or the computer monitors. In terms of business development, and I saw a question from Raj here that how do you get your customers, if you acquire customers? Yeah, that's been a big dent in our activity. We are right at about launch time, and we need to attend conferences, we need to attend trade shows, and the online trade shows, I don't know what everybody else's experience is like. For us, it's been very ineffective. So it's fine for conferences, but a trade show that you walk around and you shake hands and you meet with customers ad hoc, that's, and then you have a booth and you have your wares there. not having access to that has been a dampener for our biz development.
Sure. Appreciate that insight. And then maybe we have one more minute. Anyone want to jump on this one and kind of how COVID has affected your business and how you're doing to mitigate?
What we are doing at Bitsensing is really to try to concentrate on a domestic market. So we do have some big giant companies here in Korea as well. So that's what we are primarily doing. And then we have some programs like Plug and Play that help us to connect, on internet based. So which is quite helpful. So thanks for that.
For sure, for sure. Appreciate the shout out. No, it's been a pleasure to work with you all over the last few months. And I think with that, we are right on time. Thank you, Barry. Thank you, Mario. Thank you, Ali. Thank you, Joni. And we're going to move on to our little second section here and kicking it off with none other than Heex Technologies, hailing all the way from France. We're going to have Etienne walk us through what they are building. Get the slides going here in just a second. Amazing. As I mentioned, Heex is up next, and I'll let them take it away without further ado. Thanks, everyone.
Hi, everyone. I'm Etienne, and today I'm going to talk to you about Heex Technologies, a smart data management software for autonomous driving. So we all heard about self-driving cars supposed to come to us in 2020, yet despite all the billions invested, autonomous driving ultimately failed to deliver on its promises. And we wonder why. And the problem we want to tackle today is that development teams are forced to work with an exponential amount of data, and that their day-to-day simply became hell because they are not working with the right tools in order to solve for the last % required to reach full autonomy. They're spending way too much time on cumbersome processing tasks, such as semi-manually looking for the 1% important data in oceans of datasets. They're switching between way too many software tools, and those tools are not meant to collaborate properly with other business units. And the perfect example illustrating this problem is the current data workflow, where so much data is being generated from test vehicles that data has actually to be stored in hard drives before those hard drives are taken off manually for further processing, and that's hugely inefficient. So with another 150 billion about to be invested in autonomous driving in the next 5 years, data management needs to be reinvented. So we came up with a solution, a handy cloud-based software that is going to help development teams to focus on what we call smart data management, which is specifically focusing on the 1% important situations. And we are providing a seamlessly integrated tool with tailor-made features for collaboration. How does it work? Our secret sauce is our ability to process valuable data as it occurs over the air. And we are doing so with an innovative 4-steps process where we are going to first detect important situations with preset triggers. We are going to then package that data and certify its metadata on the blockchain, send it to a cloud, and then we are going to push smart data towards our platform where development teams can have access to valuable data a lot faster. The end goal is to make data smart, because today development teams do not need necessarily to work with more data, they need to work with better data sets. And there's an incredible opportunity to become the leader in this brand new billion-dollar emerging market of smart data for autonomous driving. To do so, we have assembled a killer team with a trio of co-founders bringing a set of expertise in entrepreneurship, research in autonomous driving, and finance, as well as a great ecosystem of investors, advisors, and acceleration programs, such as the mobility program of Plug and Play. What do we need now? We are looking to raise a $2 million seed round starting Q1 2021 to accelerate our growth and to specifically go from commercial pilots to a global go-to-market. And that's a wrap. Thank you very much.
Well, merci Etienne, and it was great to hear about the progress to date. Super excited about that seed round, and without further ado, we're going to move on to a startup that is bringing some Tony Stark-esque technology into the real world. If you ever wish you could just move your hands and make things happen, Gestoos is making it a reality. So let Todd take it away with Gestoos.
Hi, my name is Todd Stein, and I'm the CEO of Gestoos. Gestoos is a software company laser-focused on combining computer vision with machine learning and AI to detect and understand human gestures, movements, and activities. I'm here today to talk to you about our innovative technology, its use cases, and applications. Our shape recognition technology increases safety through activity monitoring and anomaly detection, as well as enhancing multimodal interaction with non-touch air gestures. Our patented innovative technology has won numerous industry awards. We were the worldwide grand champions at NTD Data's Open Innovation Contest. We came in second place out of over 5,000 companies at Cisco's Global Innovation Challenge, and CES actually paid us to go to the mega trade show in Las Vegas. From activity detection and spatial interaction today to complex behavior monitoring tomorrow, Gestoos is leading the way. One of our key markets is mobility, where we offer solutions for anomaly detection, driver distraction, passenger activity monitoring, and air gesture interaction for infotainment control. Gestoos helps make driving safer for everyone by detecting driver distraction, whether that's texting, phoning, eating, reaching behind, or simply not looking ahead. And by reminding drivers when toddlers or pets are left behind on a hot summer day. Gestoos's technology enables air gesture infotainment control and enhanced next-generation interaction for autonomous vehicles. Gestoos offers a variety of software solutions for applications in multiple mobility segments, from OEM to car sharing and commercial fleets. Gestoos's core technology also has important applications for mobility within buildings, such as elevators and escalators. Gestoos software detects incorrect behaviors and anomalies, enabling immediate corrective measures, which can be life-saving. Gestoos offers multiple advantages. Our shape recognition approach can be used to detect any combination of shape and movement, whether person or person plus object. We are hardware agnostic, working with both 2D and 3D cameras and all the leading computing platforms such as Intel, NVIDIA, Qualcomm, and NXP. We have low resolution requirements and a light computing footprint, and all detection is done on device at the edge. No connectivity is needed. Of particular note, our patented incremental semi-supervised approach delivers superior robustness and does so with less training data. We have recently released a tool called Creator, which leverages our entire IP and tech stack to allow OEMs, Tier 1s, and system integrators build best-in-class detection models in-house with no need for specialized computer vision or artificial intelligence expertise. Thank you for listening.
Thanks so much. And we are going to keep rolling right along here. Up next, we have Benedict from Allganize presenting also maybe some sci-fi-esque technology of a tool that uses a natural language understanding to help answer business questions. So almost like a do everything virtual assistant, but I'll let them explain it better than I can. Allganize is up next.
The global mobility industry is undergoing a massive transformation. And what this means for companies in that sector is that they are dealing with an unprecedented amount of questions from both their employees as well as their customers. Allganize leverages the power of natural language understanding AI to help these companies automate answers. If you think about how customer support works, it's that a rep will have to do a keyword search, find the number of documents that contain these keywords, and skim through them in order to find the spot that answers the question. This makes customer support very difficult to scale, very time-consuming and costly for companies, and very frustrating to the end consumer. Allganize solves this issue by allowing companies to upload their technical documents and FAQs, and then their customers, as well as their employees, can search through them in an answer bot or a search bar interface. We are working with automotive companies on digitizing their sales function by allowing consumers to engage with an answer bot in a conversational way and make a more informed buying decision without having to involve a human in the process. We're also working with electronic parts and the automotive parts manufacturers on factory use cases, allowing a line worker to simply ask a question and being able to search through decades of unstructured data such as incident reports or user manuals or maintenance records allows them to reduce downtime, solve problems themselves without the need to involve a support desk, and increases efficiency. Allganize differs from other companies in its space in that we don't require any manual data tagging. This means that we can ingest documents as they are and deliver value from day one. Despite being the fastest to market, we consistently outperform all our competitors in terms of results accuracy and have never lost a benchmark comparison so far. We've also designed an enterprise-ready dashboard that is aimed at a non-technical audience and is easily scalable across large workforces in both SaaS and on-premise delivery methods. We're already working with some of the world's largest companies across industries on a variety of use cases. One typical use case is customer support automation, and in this sample use case, you can see that we've automated over 20,000 tickets in just 4 months. And as you can see, the AI automation rate goes up over time because of the learning component of our AI dashboard. And it is not uncommon for our customers to see automation rates of 80 or 90% in just 6 months. So far, we've raised $5 million in seed and Series A. We're based in Oakland, California, with offices in South Korea as well as Japan. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Benedict. And we are going to continue right along here. Up next, we have Sam with Potential Motors presenting to us their software for vehicle safety and performance. Again, using AI, and really excited to have them tell us more about it.
Hi everyone, my name is Sam Poirier. I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO of Potential Motors. The automotive industry right now is going through some of the biggest disruption in its history, being brought on by government regulations, changing consumer habits, as well as a shift in the technology that is ultimately changing where the complexity in a vehicle lies, from hardware towards the software. You can look at it like two worlds, the one that we currently live in today, which is around the internal combustion engine vehicles we currently have, as well as the existing electric vehicles that are ultimately still mechanically controlled, reactive in nature, and also depend on humans' reaction time. The future of vehicles, however, is moving towards a single platform with software control over all aspects of the vehicle through drive-by-wire. This means we can move towards being more proactive and ultimately make decisions through software. With this platform, however, we need a new way to be able to take advantage of what this will be capable of. This is the challenge that Potential Motors is working on. We're developing Rally AI, our AI-based holistic control software for augmenting the EV driving experience. Our system takes in the desired path of the vehicle that we either interpret from the driver or take from the path planner of the vehicle, and we combine this with information on the driving environment using our perception stack to identify road conditions and the vehicle's location in space. Rally AI then holistically determines how each actuator should be operated to maintain the driver's intended path. This is scalable to different platforms, working with typical coupled front steering and single drive to fully decoupled steering and independent motor control at each of the wheels. Ultimately, it results in a vehicle and a system that's proactive versus reactive while reducing the complexity of software development for a new vehicle. We're still in early stage in our development, and we're working primarily in simulation as well as on small scale prototypes that you can see in this video. The goal of this is to be able to pass through the transition from simulation to reality as we move from this stage into our next stage, which will be testing on a larger scale prototype, which we've been developing in-house for off-road electric vehicle use. We're located in Eastern Canada and well-funded, having raised our $2.5 million seed round in February this year. Right now, we're looking for automotive OEMs and tier ones to partner with on proof of concepts, as well as investors to join us in our Series A raise, which will be closing by the end of 2021. Our leadership team has extensive technical experience in AI-based development for vehicle control, as well as a track record of building successful companies that have gone on to be acquired by companies like IBM, Salesforce, Microsoft, and Alcatel-Lucent. Thanks everyone for your time. Myself and Chris Ramsey, our Chief Business Development Officer, are going to be around at the Remo session afterwards. So we're looking forward to talking with everyone then. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Sam. And yeah, we will indeed see you at the remote networking session later on, as I hope to see everyone joining us in this session. We'll get to that reminder later, but we have one more startup before our next little Q&A panel session. And SpearEye is going to be presenting technologies around location and mapping, and how the kind of evolution of that technology has gone, specifically related to what they're building. So really excited to have Israel join us and explain more about what is going on at SpearEye.
Hi, my name is Israel Rom. I'm CEO of SpearEye Technologies. We want to make autonomous vehicle at all levels of driving available and simple. Barak is our CTO, served at the technology unit of the intelligence, and led innovation at Mobileye. Or our COO has a great experience in operation, logistics, and procurement in many Israeli companies. I was the commander of the C4I division at the IDF, led the technology directorate at the Israeli Prison Service, and was the head of technology and innovation division at Egged, Israel's largest public transportation company. Currently, autonomous vehicle concept is based on visual sensors. They are not always effective or relevant. In order to solve the gaps, we offer to use high-definition live mapping and V2V modem. Our first product is driver's display. It enables the driver to see all vehicles in vicinity, enhancing situation awareness. The concept of situation awareness is demonstrated in this video. Our car is in the center of the display, turned right, moving to the next available lane. Second car turned left. Both cars continue as planned. Our driver display also detects collision hazard and takes action to prevent them. Next video demonstrates the concept. Again, our car in the center of the display, approaching a junction where another car is approaching it too. The system detected the hazard and took action to prevent it. We are in the process of signing strategic collaboration agreement with Soar Robotics to incorporate our system within their advanced V2V modems. We're in talks with the dev and with United States Postal Service. I want to take the opportunity and thank the great team of SpearEye for their dedication and assistance. We are moving forward and looking for partners and investors.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Israel. And I hope everyone can see my ear-to-ear smile hearing about SpearEye's collaboration with Soar Robotics, another startup in our program. They'll be presenting later today. But you know, we're always here for the iconic collaborations between startups in our program. So that being said, we have another little opportunity for a Q&A panel here. I will allow a moment for everyone from Heex, Gestoos, Potential Motors, and SpearEye to turn on their cameras, unmute themselves, and also take a note to say that we unfortunately will not be having we won't be having Benedict from Allganize join. He's feeling under the weather today, so sending our thoughts to him. If you do have questions for Allganize, though, feel free to send them in the chat and we'll follow them along. But yeah, hey everyone, how is it going? I think we have we have everybody now. Hey Israel, hey Todd, hey Sam and Etienne, how's it going?
Hi Mark.
Hi Mark.
Mark.
Thanks so much for joining, and again for those presentations. I think something that really struck me just listening to the presentations and kind of getting a sense of the group that we have online right now is that there's almost a kind of, we're covering almost the full experience or kind of full stack of software needed, whether it be for like autonomy, development management, in-vehicle experiences, customer and sales experience with Allganize, even though they're not necessarily here, and then like vehicle control and connectivity. I thought that was pretty striking. So again, maybe recycling a question from the last panel, but where do you see things missing in this kind of like the software experience of the vehicle of the future? You know, I think we've touched on so many points of it, but are there any spaces where you think there is a tool missing or there's a product still to be developed? You know, I feel like maybe you all feel like you're working on those products, obviously, otherwise you wouldn't be doing what you're doing, but just curious to poke around a little bit.
I'll take a stab.
I don't think it's a specific product. I'm more concerned about the integration of all of it. If you look at what's happening in the cars, current generation, 2023, 2025, we're going from ECUs to basically a centralized single macro computing board. And all these different software pieces have to be integrated and connected and talk to each other. And I think here we're doing our own piece. I'm concerned in the back of my mind is who's doing the integration 5 years down the road, 10 years, when there's a single larger computer, as opposed to all these individual independent systems.
For sure.
So,
and maybe Sam,
just my take on it.
Interesting. Yeah, definitely. I think that totally makes sense. And that's a really cool point to pick up on. And I'm curious to Sam, what you would think about that, since the system that you're building touches on so many different aspects of vehicle control. And sounds like you're probably going to have to have some sort of, I guess, maybe like an ECU or a control unit that maybe doesn't even exist today to be able to run the software that you're working on right now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the big things that we're really focused on is exactly that, because I think the big thing is that as we transition to this platform, it's almost more comparable to a robotics platform than it is compared to a combustion engine vehicle of the past. Like there's a big shift that's going on there. So I think we're really going to have to draw on a lot of the work that's been done in robotics and pull that into the vehicle in the way that they do a lot of their communication between different layers, and also in general how that whole system works. And that's ultimately where we're pulling a lot of the work that we're doing as well in the work towards that whole more holistic vision of the control towards a vehicle. And yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of challenges when we get into the next layers of detail with it.
For sure. I can imagine. And I think maybe I'm also curious as to, for those of you in this group who've had some of those initial conversations with automotive partners around, starting to talk about integrating some of this technology into their vehicles, can you maybe like provide some insights as to what conversations work best, how to explain or how to kind of get everyone comfortable with what the future that you're presenting for the vehicle effectively?
I'll jump on this. I think it's really interesting, the question you just asked, because we're going from, people making cars to potentially people making software. And I think a lot of, the tier ones and the OEMs out there, they don't have full control of, what the future holds, because they're not software maker per se. And your first question was asking, what kind of solution is missing. And I think there's a land of opportunity and for a lot of startups to come in and bring innovative stack of new solution. For autonomous vehicles, it was, cameras a few years ago. Then it was annotation maybe. And now you have all those software solutions like the one we're doing that are helping these teams to basically add new levels of autonomy with time. And hopefully we can see these kind of vehicles on the road soon.
For sure. And then Israel, I don't know if you wanted to pick up on that one, if you had any thoughts.
Well, I think that we're facing a lot of difficulties in entering the market as we bring a totally different concept of autonomous driving. And I think that we are developing, and we are waiting for everybody to come to us to understand that we might have the missing part of the puzzle in order to get really autonomous driving working, because so far there are so many difficulties in that field that is actually keeping everybody backwards and not going fast forward, because it's not really working the way it's working now. And I think that we have the missing puzzle that we can solve the problem, but we don't feel that the market is willing to accept it, because they didn't feel we have problems to bring the market our solution. And we encounter a lot of conservativity in the solutions that are trained, especially in the automotive market. And that's the challenge. And we have a lot of talks, and we are trying many approaches, like, for example, preventing first the display of enhancing safety and hazard for collision detection. And we believe that going for step by step, eventually we will succeed to convince everybody that we maybe have some crucial part in the solution.
Sure. I think that's also, yeah, an interesting one to think about is how to, as a startup, how to get over maybe some of the conservative nature of the automotive industry. And I think you mentioned one technique that sounds, super like applicable, which is building out the MVP, having something to show that's kind of bite-sized to then, start integrating and start working on. And I'm wondering if, Todd, Sam, or Etienne, if you've thought of any other strategies to help get some of those other automotive players on board and start to get them comfortable with the technology that you're working on?
We did something a little unusual in that we're computer vision companies. We're building our own models for gesture activity monitoring for the cabin. What we ended up doing is actually building a tool, taking our entire IP and tech stack and putting the tool that they could use. So we said, here, you want to do best in class computer vision models, but you have no AI or computer vision expertise, give any engineer, he can use our tool to build best-in-class models. So you're doing it in-house. And we find that was an approach that got them excited. They know they need to do more in software. They know they need to become more software experts, and they want to bring more of that in-house because they feel that will be differentiating in the future. And so by letting them access our technology through an external tool, that was a way in.
For sure. I think maybe to that point, Etienne, I'm curious as to, you're building almost a tool for almost like a DevOps tool or tool for developers within the autonomous programs at OEM, like kind of companies. Do you have like kind of the traditional SaaS kind of perspective of like giving them a tool that they can start using and then building off of that into maybe more of like a paid version of it, or like how are you thinking of deploying into kind of the software engineering infrastructure of these automotive companies?
Sure. I think the easiest way to set up the solution somewhere right now is with a SaaS perspective. I think it just makes sense in order for all those teams to control their cost. Today, I think there's a big problem of you're paying for so many things when it comes to data management. To have a service where you can really track what you're doing is really easy. And like most of those teams, especially when it comes to the R&D phase, you have a lot more startups than you have OEMs and tier ones, and those are small teams, and they just want to simply get like easily getting going and have a service that makes sense for them.
Gotcha. And then I guess maybe similar as I did to the last panel, shifting into some questions from the audience. I do have one for Gestoos. Your technology obviously is like fairly horizontal. There are a number of applications. Do you have like a priority list for the applications that you're looking at currently, or kind of like a roadmap for different like verticals, I suppose, that you're looking at tackling?
Great question. Our first and primary market is mobility. And it's true. You can take this technology, you do activity monitoring, you can take anything from security to self-ordering menus at McDonald's, so you don't have to touch the kiosk anymore, right? You can do gesture technology for that. Is someone walking where they shouldn't be? Is there someone being mugged? And you can do all those sort of activity monitoring stuff. We've decided to focus on what we do is mobility, and then we're doing intentional gesture interaction, proactive, I'm trying to control something, or we're seeing an activity. So it's cars, trucks, fleets, and we put escalators and elevators in mobility because they're moving people. That's kind of debatable whether you want to put that, but that's our definition of mobility. So we put that in. So that's what we're trying. In terms of roadmap, the focus is the activity monitoring with a person-to-person plus object, and then this creator tool, which I mentioned, which actually lets these companies build their own models in-house.
Sweet. I think that kind of puts us up on time. I appreciate all of you taking a moment to join us live. I think these have been super fun little Q&A sessions. And again, if there are any other questions that you see in the chat, feel free to go in and answer them. But no, this was a joy. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for having us.
See you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Beautiful. We're gonna keep on trucking here, and we are going to move on to another segment of startups for our summit here. We're going to kick it off with Mark from Interplai. We're taking a dive into more of the perspective of urban and kind of connected city mobility, going to be talking about some last mile delivery, some smart cities topics. But yeah, Mark is going to kick us off with Interplai, building last mile delivery solutions, and really, really looking forward to hearing him present about that. Taking 1 second to get things queued up here. Appreciate everyone's patience. I'll take this moment to plug again that we'll be meeting live and networking in Remo later on today. So certainly looking forward to seeing everyone's faces there. And here we are. We're coming up next with Interplai, and I'll let the presentation roll.
Hello, my name is Mark Crawford, and I'm the CEO of Interplai, which is a technology company that uses AI to design logistics software and robots to improve efficiency in last mile delivery. From customer interviews and research, we've identified the top 10 cost factors that impact last mile delivery efficiency. They cover cost, time, distance traveled, and probability of failed delivery. The wide range helps to explain the difficulty in solving this problem. Our solution is composed of 3 services. The first is Interplai Direct, which is a software as a service that provides route optimization for delivery businesses and addresses 3 cost factors. The second is Interplai Connect, which is capacity as a service that provides supplemental on-demand delivery for Interplai Direct customers and addresses 2 cost factors. The third is Interplai Deliver, which is robots as a service that uses robots to perform deliveries for Interplai Connect customers and addresses 5 cost factors. Interplai Direct uses our proprietary data analytics and machine learning to create predictive models that allows us to produce custom vehicle route optimization algorithms for each customer. Interplai Connect uses our hybrid heuristics and AI algorithms to achieve efficient convergence of optimal solutions for large-scale vehicle route optimization problems. For Interplai Deliver, we've created a delivery robot that uses our patent-pending modular and reconfigurable technology. This allows us to have customized cargo containers for different delivery services, like food, medication, and parcels. Multiple containers can be docked on our robot to increase cargo efficiency. We've created a patent-pending smart storage system to further increase efficiency that allows our robots to dock and have cargo containers loaded and unloaded. This fully automated system allows the robots to reconfigure themselves without the need for human interaction. When our storage system is integrated into a vehicle, we can significantly improve the overall delivery efficiency. We've had 3 major achievements since participating in Plug and Play. The first is a partnership we established with BorgWarner to investigate the efficiency of automated driving and delivery systems. We're using Interplai algorithms and our multi-robot system to evaluate AV performance. The second is being invited to participate in a new Michigan automated delivery proof of concept. We plan to deploy our multi-robot delivery system in this grocery delivery pilot along with several partners. The third is the launch of our first service, which is Interplai Direct. Our software is now in private beta and serving several customers. We have an awesome founding team. I have over 20 years of automotive and AV experience leading global teams to develop automated driving technology. Eddie, my co-founder, has over 15 years of venture capital, investment banking, and corporate development experience. We're seeking investors and partners. We would like to raise seed funding to further support our robot and software development and a pilot project. We're looking for partners to integrate our robots into their vehicles and to use our optimization algorithms. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to chatting with you soon.
Amazing. From one Mark to another Mark. Thanks so much. That was a fun presentation and great to see all the traction to date. Coming up next, we're going to be hearing from Karim with Soar Robotics. Soar was mentioned earlier with the potential partnership with SpearEye. So again, some exciting stuff happening here. And Karim will be telling us more about the devices they're building for connected cars.
At Soar, we are creating the connectivity layer for the future of mobility and want to make sure 100% of vehicles are connected with each other. We see connectivity as the building block for full autonomy and smarter and safer cities. Let me first start with introducing our team. We are a team of experts in telecom, AI, and autonomous vehicles. Most of our core team members has an extensive academic and industrial expertise with several exits under our belts. Currently, we execute paid POCs and pilots with large OEMs, tier ones, and small to medium-sized startups who develop V2X applications. They want to use our connectivity solutions to deploy complex V2X and cloud applications to advance their technology. Mobility applications such as connected and autonomous cars, robots, and aerial vehicles need fast, secure, and robust communications to scale safer and intelligent operations. However, utilizing the sensor data in real time and turning that data into action needs a whole new ecosystem with new requirements on the radio and network architecture in order to satisfy the real-time service requirements. However, there is no data operating system for vehicle manufacturers, OEMs, tier ones, and developers to deploy so that they can fully blend the data, utilize vehicle-to-everything applications. The current technology depends on low mobility and low data systems. It's very lengthy and difficult for manufacturers to optimize different protocols in one operating system, and there is no robust way to meet the quality of service parameters. So they can utilize data in real time, limiting the development and deployment of many V2X and cloud applications. We provide a connectivity layer that will transform today's connected and assisted cars and robots into safe and intelligent vehicles that operate collaboratively. Our solution, Universal Connectivity Stack, is the middleware for manufacturers and developers to collect, utilize, and interact with data in real time and deploy V2X apps without hassle. So by using our solution, any mobility company can deploy any V2X application and connect their vehicle to any infrastructure, cloud resources, other vehicles easily and without a need to reinvent the wheel every time. In a way, we are the social layer of sensors. We do this by providing a connectivity stack with physical layer optimizations that enable the best use of spectrum resources. We provide the best-in-class cellular and direct connectivity to implement V2X applications without having to deal with air interface or networking. Our business model depends on hardware licensing and software subscription. That subscription includes cloud layer as a service and regular software updates for the hardware and the application layer. Currently, we are raising a new round and looking forward to meet with potential investors. We have 3 objectives for this round: onboard 5 manufacturers, onboard 10 V2X developers and startups, and expand our team. If you are interested in building the next generation of telecommunication technologies for the mobility markets, please reach us. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Kerem. And definitely looking forward to chatting more about what you're building in the panel coming up here. Up next, though, we have Daryl with Sensagrate telling us more about real-time software for intelligent traffic signals and kind of getting more into that connected city, smart city ecosystem of things. So really looking forward to hearing about what they're building.
Hello, my name is Daryl Keaton, founder and president of Sensagrate. Thank you for your time today. We have a team of individuals with PhDs in robotics, statistical analytics, and machine learning who have helped businesses scale to over 10 million plus in revenue, and we turn roadway data into money. We created a product called SensaVision, a real-time software for intelligent safety solutions. Our core team includes myself, who has over 15 plus years in business and technology experience. I've helped companies grow from 1 to 2 million plus in revenue. And Anand Jadhav has prior software engineer experience at Dell and his PhD in robotics and wireless communications from Harvard. And Kuyang Yang has over 10 years in AI with a PhD in statistical analytics from Johns Hopkins and focuses on our software development and computer vision and data analysis. SensaVision is a computer vision AI mobility as a service platform for mobility and transportation data providers and traffic engineers by providing real-time analytics and visualizations to improve mobility and safety by decreasing congestion and identifying risk on roadways such as near-miss collisions. Here's the most important fact about our technology. We provide an end-to-end solution with stationary sensors, AI deep learning software that aggregates the sensor data on an IoT edge device in real time, sending that processed data to the cloud and providing data analytics such as predictive analytics for traffic flow and volume. So that the data that we're collecting can be used to improve traffic flow, collision detection, 3D incident recreation, preparing for smart city development and city planning, and create intelligent and autonomous infrastructure for connected and autonomous vehicles. The software assesses and tracks the movements of vehicles, pedestrians, and cyclists within the field of view. For example, at an intersection, detecting and tracking a pedestrian to identify their location if they're jaywalking, to delay the signal from changing if they're in the middle of the road. The sensors we use are LiDAR, video, camera, and radar. We work with multiple leading LiDAR companies, from 360-degree sensors to solid-state sensors. For our camera solution, we recently partnered with Axis Communications as an application development partner. As we grow, we'll be developing our technology with a combination of all three sensors for sensor fusion capabilities. Some of our projects include an IoT tower project for a smart campus, density analysis and mobility solutions, and a mobility challenge with Toyota in the city of Kuala Lumpur. These projects have led us to additional opportunities with OEMs, insurance companies, and traffic solution providers. We are raising a safe note for 1.8 million. We're looking for strategic partners, meeting with investors, and building relationships with OEMs. Thank you for your time. My name is Gerald Keaton, President and Founder of Sensagrate.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Daryl. Up next, we're going to be hearing about technology that helps in recycling batteries and building out kind of future supply chain for battery and metal materials for the automotive sector and beyond. So excited to hear from Megan from Nth Cycle about what they're working on.
Hi, everyone. My name is Megan O'Connor. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Nth Cycle. At Nth Cycle, we've developed a modular technology to recycle the critical metals out of our clean energy technologies to help mitigate the severe supply chain bottlenecks we'll face as we move forward on the path to electrification. As I mentioned on the previous slide, while we transition from a fossil-based economy to a clean energy economy, we're going to face many barriers like unstable foreign supply chains and metal deficits that will significantly delay this desirable transition if we don't adopt new strategies. One way we could help mitigate the supply chain bottleneck is through recycling. Unfortunately, our current waste management strategies just don't work for these newer types of waste like lithium-ion batteries that are reaching their end of life today. If we now take a look at why our current strategy, which is to collect all the waste and ship it to one centralized facility, is so dysfunctional, it really comes down to safety. Lithium-ion batteries have thermal runaway issues, which translates into hazardous long-distance transport and 95% of all lithium-ion batteries going into a landfill. If we move forward with this strategy long-term, we'll be throwing away $20 billion worth of critical metals by 2030. Nth Cycle's mission is to overcome these limitations to not only reclaim that lost value, but to also create a secure supply of critical metals within North America. To do this, Nth Cycle has developed a cost-effective, modular system that enables a distributed tolling model. This plug-and-play system can be adopted to any current facility, including battery collection facilities, automotive OEMs, or electronic component manufacturers to process the waste on-site, pulling out the valuable metals, which are then safe to ship to the front-end value chain partners. This eliminates the need for transporting full lithium-ion batteries to a final chemical recycler and adds value to existing processes in North America. We're able to adopt this distributed model and differentiate ourselves through our modular system with a footprint of less than 900 square feet. This device combines two age-old techniques, water filtration and electrowinning. Here, we input waste materials like lithium-ion batteries or permanent magnets. It goes through our proprietary system and comes out as metal hydroxides or oxides. Nth Cycle has significant advantages compared to our competitors, including a 75% reduction in total cost per kilogram metal we produce, a 60% reduction in total energy use, and a 75% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions, which translates into 10 gigatons of CO2 savings by 2050. Taking a quick look at a use case, here's how Nth Cycle could fit within the EV space. Here, Nth Cycle could drop their system directly into a manufacturing facility to process all the waste, producing materials with 55% margins and a payback period of less than 2 years. With our recently closed seed round of $3.2 million, Nth Cycle will be scaling to our commercial unit ready for deployment in Q2 of 2022. Today, we are looking for commercial partners interested in lithium-ion battery recycling. If interested, please contact us at o'connor@nthcycle.com. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Megan. And now we are moving on to our final startup of this little mini session. Again, kind of touching on some of those smart cities topics and connected vehicle topics. We'll be hearing from Harriet and Marie from LiveRoad Analytics, and I'll let them take it away.
Hi, I'm Harriet, a co-founder here at LiveRoad. We are an IoT data analytics and meteorological technology company focused on road weather forecasting. We were founded in 2019 and have delivered our solution to Amazon Transportation Services through a previous company. With 23% of truck accidents occurring during inclement weather in an almost $800 billion industry, there is a need for a road weather solution. So we're introducing a next generation road weather solution for safety and delay risk in commercial transportation through our LiveRoad geospatial analytics platform. We help commercial fleets increase uptime and productivity, enhance safety, and maximize network efficiency. This results in keeping vehicles moving smoothly and safely. Here's my most important point. Our LiveRoad technology is key in transportation because of the high resolutions required for relevant lane level forecasting and road hazard notification. We have 3 POCs in the pipeline with 2 commercial vehicle entities and a leading mapping and navigation provider. We're seeking to connect with corporate partners and investors. And now we will provide a high-level demonstration of our LiveRoad solution. Thank you for your time, and we welcome your interest.
So LiveRoad Analytics, we are a meteorological technology company. So what we're doing is we're combining data with MetTech. We're providing predictive and real-time road weather information for safety, efficiency, and mobility. So what is MetTech? Well, MetTech is combining meteorological technology with customer and other third-party data sets to better identify the impact that weather is having to be able to build those predictive models. Our solution goes beyond the capabilities of traditional weather solutions by attacking the 2 main limitations of traditional weather forecasting, which is the resolution of the data and the update frequencies. So here, as you can see in the demonstration portal, if I were to bring up the traditional global weather points, there they are on the map now. Regional models do provide better level of coverage, certainly. And then at LiveRoad, what we're doing is during storm events, we're going down to a 1 kilometer resolution. But that's a lot of data. We're focused on transportation. So what we're doing here is pulling out the road points and associating the data directly with the road network. As you see here, for each of these points, you get a weather risk associated with these points along the road network. If we were to look at particular events, you can also go in and see how this is changing over a time series. So for better planning of risk and mobility. So that's the demo. We look forward to hearing from you. Hope you have some questions. Thanks very much. Bye.
Beautiful. I think with that, I'll give everyone a moment to unmute themselves and join us for a little panel Q&A session. Excited to see, let's see if we got, I think we got most everybody. Hey there, how's it going, Daryl? How's it going, Mark, Megan?
Well,
Mary, good to see you. Denise, good to have you online too. I think we got everyone.
Hey.
Great, great. You know, I think so something, this group that I put together, this is all a little bit strategic. I think when I was looking at what you all are working on, something that struck me is that at some level or another in what you're building, there may be some potential collaboration with like a government entity or like cities or more public entities in one way or another, whether it be kind of on the smart cities front or elsewhere. So I'm wondering, maybe we can kind of kick off the conversation around like, as a startup, what does it look like to work with more of like a city entity or a public entity rather than, you know, specifically always targeting, you know, a B2B use case or going straight to kind of the enterprise?
This is Murray from LiveRoad Analytics. I can start off there. Yeah, definitely with the smart cities. I mean, there's a great play there with integrating the weather data and integrating the traffic data as well. So whether it's for the traffic management systems or understanding what's happening with the road network, super interesting. There's a lot of interest in that market. Unfortunately, you're looking at budgetary constraints often in that space, but there's definitely a lot of interest, and I'm seeing interest in them integrating their vehicle data as well. So interesting space.
For sure. Yeah, go.
Mark here, and so from Interplay. And so one of the things that we're interested in is participating in different pilot projects and proof of concepts. And of course, local governments play a critical role in facilitating those type of pilot projects. And in particular, it's really important when it comes to getting community engagement. And so for us, we want to develop robots that drive on public sidewalks and pedestrian areas. And that definitely requires getting feedback from the community so that we're good corporate citizens.
Fair enough. I do have some other thoughts of questions, but if anyone wants to take a stab at this one before moving on, happy to hear.
Sure. I'll add this is Gerald with Sensagrate. From a mobility perspective, we've seen a lot of OEMs like Ford, Waymo, Toyota, BMW getting involved into this planning because the future really holds their cars or the future really dominating and having a lot of demand curbside analysis on the road. So we're starting to see not just getting in the door with cities, but also creating those relationships with the OEMs to bring into the cities, or working with one of our projects with Toyota and Qumulus. So we're kind of being more strategic about where OEMs are putting their footprint too. You're seeing a lot of that as they're starting to test their vehicles on the roads.
For sure. And I think maybe, Megan, this might be an interesting one to touch on with Nth Cycle, is that kind of getting that question around perception of OEMs and, maybe communicating some of the information around whether or not the vehicle is connected and safe, but also maybe from a supply chain perspective, how clean or green that car is and the way it was built. I'm curious as to how you think about working with OEMs to tell that story in the automotive space with what you're building at Nth Cycle.
Yeah, that's a great point. A lot of folks, in the automotive space are very concerned with where their metals are coming from, especially as more of them are trying to be more transparent, and consumers are starting to really care about that. And so we've been in a lot of discussions with them about that and creating a new supply, not only a cleaner supply, but also a more secure supply, more domestic, closer to them, so they don't have to rely as heavily on this volatile market, and sort of have those longer term supplies ready to go. But also from the working with small towns and cities and things like that, a lot of the materials that will come in from a recycling standpoint will sort of be reliant on how much consumers are willing to bring back some of those devices or cars at their end of life. And so I think the automotive companies are also thinking about that. Europe, for example, is really moving towards the model where OEMs will sort of own this material or the cars through their whole life, and then be responsible for them at the end of life. And I think I see North America moving in that direction as well. So a lot of our conversations are around that as well, trying to reclaim a lot of that value that's currently being lost.
Totally fair. And then maybe this is a question more for Denise and kind of the connected car of the future. And again, going back to maybe this theme of like what's missing, I think you all are building something very specific at Soar Robotics to fill a gap of, something that is multimodal in terms of connectivity technology, maybe being able to integrate solutions like what Sensagrate is building, or like make the vehicles that Interplai is building more connected across a number of different kind of like spectrums or protocols. But, maybe can you tell us more about like the origin story of why you're building such like a diverse kind of connectivity solution specifically at Soar?
Sure. So when you think about it, most of the hard problems for enabling autonomous operations are either solved or very close to being solved for singular agents, like a single autonomous car, or single autonomous truck. And we're seeing them being driven autonomously on in controlled environments, like navigation algorithms, control guidance, localization. Of course, far from being perfect, they have matured enough to enable autonomous operations for singular agents. But when you put these singular agents into the same environment, like a city or an urban environment, it becomes a dynamic environment, which changes the whole paradigm and all the developed algorithms and technologies for singular agents. So we need to connect these agents to each other to be able to scale their numbers, the exploding numbers, which we expect in 5 to 10 years. So that's why we wanted to tackle the connectivity problem, because we see the connectivity as the last standing problem in between us and autonomy. So that's where we started out, and we have implemented all types of different protocols for these vehicles to interact with each other and with the network. So we support vehicle-to-vehicle communications, vehicle-to-network, vehicle-to-infrastructure, and even vehicle-to-pedestrian. And also, as we like to call it, vehicle-to-cloud applications, which are, of course, higher level applications, which will be enabled by many of the very valuable startups that have presented here. So that's about our summary.
Super cool. No, I think that totally makes sense, and it's kind of a good story arc. And then I think I'm looking at some of the questions that are coming in here, and one for LiveRoad, going back to kind of the tech that you're building, and a question around how does it work in remote areas such as I-80 through Nevada, where maybe there isn't as much on the ground sensing capacity, or maybe I'm wrong, maybe there are tons of weather sensors and things to leverage in that realm.
Right, so good point. Once you get out into those remote areas, there simply isn't the same amount of data that is available. And that's where we're working with a number of partners and in discussions with OEMs about accessing the vehicle data too. So we have scientists that have come from government research environment working with that connected vehicle data. So in addition to be running high resolution modeling over those particular areas, I mean, I-80 is a challenge with the elevation changes. By running high resolution models, but then also integrating that vehicle data. And we're currently working on a solution where there's edge computing happening as well. So there's base information coming from the cloud being verified by in real time on the vehicle, and then results of that going back to the cloud to inform other vehicles as well, so that not all vehicles do need particular sensors on them. So yeah, good question, but we're definitely addressing that, getting down to the high resolution on the road network.
Fair enough. Super cool. And then again, feeling another question here for Sensagrate, going back to that question around, cities that might not have the budget or they struggle with the budget for some of these implementations. The question is, do you require proprietary sensors? Is there a way to just tie into pre-existing kind of infrastructure? How do you view that kind of problem, I suppose?
Sure. So we focus on having an agnostic system so we can plug and play with any existing sensors or cameras. For LiDAR, most cities haven't installed LiDAR, so that would be required. Then we use a unique radar solution with our partner out of Germany, so that would be required too. But if you just want to get detection and analysis from cameras, we can use existing cameras by connecting an IoT device in the real world on the road on premise, or use the streaming data at the local site or TMC that a city has.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I think a question that I've been thinking about, and maybe again, kind of a theme amongst these little panels, I think one that I'd like to dive into maybe with Denise and Megan is, I think it sounds like the products that you're building are not, entirely software driven. There's some sort of like hardware on the ground development aspect that you need. And I'm wondering how you've been working through that as a startup through COVID, and handling not just the software development side, which seems to be able to be managed in a pretty dispersed way, but also some of those more hard kind of requirements of being together and building something.
Yeah, so we actually have no software component to ours, as ours is all hardware. So it was quite a difficult time at the beginning of COVID. We had to shut our facility down for 3.5 months, and we were able to finally get back up and running mid-June timeframe. And so we are, approximately 3 months behind, but we were able to get big support from our investors in the community and sort of help us catch back up through other ways. And so, it was a little bit slower and challenging, especially when we decided to start raising our first seed round during COVID. But I think people really rallied around us in our community, and we were able to sort of catch up over the past few months and work a little bit harder and be back to where we were supposed to be in Q1 2021. So, but it was quite difficult, having no software component and sort of having to stop work altogether for 3 months.
I can only imagine. Yeah, and I don't know, Denise, if you have something to touch on that front as well.
We were lucky to have different manufacturing partners in different countries. So that was like, we just had to spend a bit more, but produce the product in terms of hardware in another country where the lockdown was a bit more loose. So that's one of the key things that we were lucky about. I think that's all I had to say about this.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Kind of diversifying the supply chain sounds like a solid tactic. And then I know, Daryl, you were mentioning some of these projects around the kind of like IoT enabled beacons and again, some hardware related deployments. Was there a similar tactic there to keep those on track as far as like sourcing and building out a more resilient supply chain, or how did that kind of work out through COVID for you?
It definitely delayed some projects in the beginning, but we've seen a significant uptick in the last month going to the end of the year. I think budgets have to be spent, but also seeing a little bit of a change in demand of how human kind of activities evolving in streets. So more analysis of where people and cyclists are going, but also that engagement. As the cities have seen an increase over 40% in some areas of activity or pedestrians using their sidewalks. So now how they manage and also take care of improving safety has to change too. So I definitely see more of a need. We're seeing a lot of opportunities out of the Asia market as they're starting to adopt level 5 autonomy onto their streets too.
Totally fair. And I think we're unfortunately running short on time, but there are a few questions in the Q&A box that I think Denise and Megan, you can get to as well. And then I really appreciate your time to be able to join us live. And again, look forward to seeing you all in the Remo networking session as well. This has been super fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I could put on some transition music here. I'll spare you my singing skills. Unfortunately, I can't say I'm a particularly great voice, but as we get our next round, our little mini cohort of startups set up here, hope everyone is on to at least their second or third cup of coffee. I know I am. Really, everyone's caffeinated and ready for the final home stretch here as far as presentations go. It's really, really been fun to hear from the founders and hear some of the kind of ways that everyone's been creatively dealing with COVID. I think that's something that we can all relate to throughout the pandemic. So always fascinating to hear those stories. And again, I encourage everyone to keep it up with the question and answer box. It's been really fun to see those questions coming in as well and be able to get to them in the panels. So without further ado, I will stop talking and I'll give the stage over to David from Viaduct, a cloud platform for better insights from connected cars. Take it away, David.
Hi, thank you for listening today. My name is David Halleck and I'm the CEO of Viaduct. And today I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we've been working on. So quickly, we were founded about 2 years ago as a spin-off from Stanford University. Our core team has a strong background in machine learning and large-scale time series analytics. Essentially what happens when you put sensors on devices and then ship millions of devices out to the world. My background personally is I got a PhD in ML from Stanford as well. So we've grown pretty quickly in the past 2 years. The moment we've got active partnerships with top 10 Fortune 100 sized OEMs or car manufacturers in both the passenger car and commercial trucking space. And at the moment, we have about 1.5 million vehicles currently connected to our platform. Our focus as a company is to help OEMs, these car manufacturers and their ecosystem partners, leverage data to improve the end vehicle experience, making cars safer, more reliable, and personalized. We do so by building an ML platform to help these OEMs manage, analyze, and make use of all of the data they are collecting on their millions of vehicles on the road today. Our core solution is a cloud-based platform to turn raw data and make it actionable in the connected vehicle ecosystem. So if you're a large passenger vehicle manufacturer, you might have 10 million vehicles on the road that are sending information to your cloud. The Viaduct cloud then plugs in directly to the OEM cloud, ingesting data from them, and then deploying a series of solutions based on our products, which involve APIs, dashboards, full integrations into the OEM's cloud to make all of this data actionable, while simultaneously allowing them to share relevant insights with their ecosystem partners who may be leveraged to improve the end vehicle experience for the owner. At the moment, we have two core solutions. Broadly, they are understanding the vehicle and understanding the driver. The vehicle side, our product is called Vehicle Profiles, and it's all around how do you take all of this information to understand the health of both an individual vehicle on the road and what is likely to fail, and a large-scale fleet to potentially detect systematic quality issues as early as possible. Whereas on the driver side, our solution is all around personalizing the end vehicle experience based on user profiles, preferences, and behaviors. So thanks again for listening. If any of this sounds interesting, feel free to reach out to me, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you soon.
Beautiful. Thanks so much, David. And we're going to keep on going here. We have Shong from CY Vision up next, kind of helping us explain or understand more around the vehicle interior of the future and kind of what kinds of experiences can be built with the technology that they're working on. So I'll let him take it away.
I'm Sheng Li, head of product for CY Vision, and we're in the business of creating visually compelling experiences to compel a new generation of vehicle owners to really trust as well as understand what it is that they're paying for. With our proprietary approach to 3D augmented reality heads-up display, we can put all those images in the right places in space, because pedestrians, traffic lights, oncoming vehicles are all in different places. And by putting all that information right up in front of you, it's safer and more engaging. Benefits of this technology are, number one, it helps people drive safe. But not so obviously, we help people also trust autonomous and assisted driving technologies, because by putting what the sensor sees as well as what the vehicle is planning to do right up there, you no longer have to wonder, do I see that oncoming car or not? With our proprietary approach to 3D, we can also create new immersive in-cabin experiences. Virtual assistants can pop up between you and the dashboard. Likewise, our approach allows mobility manufacturers to take part in modern, localized, immersive content by, again, putting it right up there, as well as doing so in such a way that keeps the driver safe. With our particular approach, we're using off-the-shelf hardware only. What that means is that we're taking the input from the existing sensor and other systems. We're using a hardware architecture which consists entirely off of off-the-shelf componentry, so no tools or special qualifications are necessary. But by taking that and piping it through our unique optical and computational pipelines, we can create new experiences. The net of this is that this is fundamentally a new approach to stereoscopic 3D AR technology, one that takes advantage of the fact that the vehicle market is well known, well established, and wants this technology. Our focus on off-the-shelf hardware allows for both a reliability and cost advantage over other approaches. And finally, we're at the stage now that we've been chosen by automotive OEMs after beauty contests against other approaches to AR technology. In the end, that's our story. Visually compelling full 3D images without special hardware, goggles, or other technologies. And we're doing so, our work, in a very capital efficient manner. Only 12 million raised to date, and we're looking to scale
and I think we might just have a little hiccup here, but I'm sure we'll get through it with our awesome team at Plug and Play. So as we're waiting for the stream to come back on and potentially even move on to our next startup, sorry Shung, but we have Qumulus Seating coming up next, but I'll give everyone a moment to sort things out. I just wanted to say these are all super aspirational technologies. As somebody with a car that doesn't even have a tape deck, I'm soliciting samples from both CY Vision and Qumulus Seating up next so I can improve my in-vehicle experience. And hopefully we'll see these kinds of technologies in the cars of the future sooner rather than later. And thanks again for bearing with us just 1 second. So as I mentioned, Qumulus Seating is up next. We're gonna have Marco presenting to us about what seats will look like in the vehicle of tomorrow. So I'll let him take it away.
Hello, everyone. My name is Marco Pietersen, and I'm venture developer at Qumulus Seating. Before I go into my presentation, I would like to invite you to take one moment and go back to a moment in time where you had been driving for a long time in your car and were sitting in the confined space of your car seat. And I want you to concentrate on the feeling in your buttocks and in your thighs. This exactly is what Qumulus Seating is focusing its activities on. Our ambition is to make a technology that will make your seating products and your clients stand out from the crowd. And our ambition is to reinvent seating. Our strategic goal is to license our technology to a global car seat manufacturer for final development, production, and sales. And the problem we're focusing on is reducing the discomfort that's associated with pain and stiffness caused by the reduced oxygenation of your muscles and your skin tissue, and which is a predictor for musculoskeletal pain. At the same time, we want to increase your comfort, which is associated with feeling of relaxation and well-being. The problem is that all seats are essentially static, and typically after 25 to 40 minutes, discomfort starts. Our approach is to measure and automatically reduce the pressure, which creates the possibility for truly personalized seating comfort by means of two-way machine interface, interaction between the seat and the person driving or sitting next to the driver, while simultaneously collecting data, first on the profile of the person sitting and second on the interaction of the person with the seat. And we do that by means of cells that measure the pressure in newtons and consecutively reduce automatically the force and create a different seating experience. The technology was tested originally for the medical sector and was tested also in clinical situations. So what do? We measure, redistribute, and process the data with our proprietary algorithms. And as such, we create the possibility to assess the user's comfort level, assess the fatigue level, evaluate sitting habits, and do health risk predictions, for instance. And we do that by means of tailored seating programs that suit the user's needs. For this, we developed some mock-ups to give you an idea of where we are at. We estimate that we will be part of the huge car-generated data market that is estimated by McKinsey to come into existence in the year of 2030. This is the Qumulus Seating team that consists of developers and a human factor specialist, assisted by Spark, a design and innovation team from Rotterdam who has won a lot of awards. And well, we look forward to talking to you and having your questions, and thank you for your attention.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Marco. Again, hopefully we'll get those seats in the car of the future. I'm certainly looking forward to it. And then moving on to other technology in the vehicle, we'll be hearing from Eric at Omnitron Sensors about the tech that they're working on for new sensor design and how that can be brought into the vehicle. So I'll let him take it away from here.
Hi, my name is Eric Aguilar. I am the CEO of Omnitron Sensors, and we are a deep tech company developing silicon process for sensors. Sensors are everywhere. They're in the phone in our pocket, they're in the cars that we drive, and prevalent in self-driving vehicles. And throughout my career, I've built some of these sensors. From there, I joined a startup company where I met my co-founder, Trent, where we commercialized one of these sensors that led to a great exit via acquisition by Google. From there, I transitioned to doing sensor integration, and I worked at Google X, Tesla, and most recently, Argo AI. Trent has a PhD from Cornell in physics and has spent decades developing silicon process for sensors. He's done everything from research to dealing with manufacturing issues in the silicon space. Now, while working at these companies looking to unlock self-driving, I've seen how critical LiDAR is along with these issues. Primarily, they just last a few months and they fail due to the car shaking or the sensor baking in the sun. And when they fail, the car can no longer drive autonomously. On top of that, they're expensive, where you could spend hundreds of millions of dollars on just a small fleet of robotaxis on the sensor alone. Now, while looking at addressing this problem, we saw that silicon process was a fundamental bottleneck. And in fact, it has been a space that has been flat for the last 10 plus years. We're adding a new degree of freedom to design with in silicon process, and this is the big deal. With our IP, we can address the engineering challenges, such as the ones facing LiDAR, and reduce costs by 100 times and improve reliability from months to years. With our technology, we can address a $37 billion market just in automotive and robotics applications. Come invest and partner with us to develop the next generation of sensors using Omnitron's silicon process. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric, and looking forward to hearing more in the panel Q&A about what you're building. And last but not least for this little session, we have hybrid LiDAR systems coming up next, again, working on some of that sensing technology and you know, the cutting edge of what exists there. I will let Ingo explain to us more about what he's building.
Hi, I am Ingo, co-founder of Hybrid LiDAR Systems. Today, I introduce LiSA, our 3D flash LiDAR sensor for autonomous driving and next-generation automation. What we do, developing and selling LiDAR to automotive and high-tech industrial OEMs. What we do differently from the others. We are the only LiDAR company that invented our own measurement method. This hybrid method is always up to 50% cheaper and allows a 10x higher resolution than the competition. Today's LiDAR systems are too big, have low resolution, expensive, too inflexible, and often have mechanical parts like mirrors. On the other hand are the requirements of the automotive OEMs. LiSA Automotive meets these requirements. The biggest challenge is the resolution. So why? LiDAR should not only detect objects, but also classify them. Object of 10 centimeter high should be detected by 200 meter range. The greater the distance at which small objects are detected, the faster can be driven. Current LiDAR solutions have the problem of the resolution. So how do we solve this? This patented multiplex approach enables us to achieve a chip which is 80% cheaper or a 10x higher resolution. Why us? We have a high resolution 2x VGA, inexpensive, cost savings of 50% of the market LiDAR. We are flexible, parameter selectable via software. We use of multiple wavelengths for better visibility and classification. The ASIC is universal, so has to be developed only once. Our industry touchpoints. We have a great feedback from the industry and top car manufacturers. We are in the pre-tender for LiDAR projects at Volkswagen and BMW. The founders all come from the industry and are very experienced and well networked. Our LiSA industry is already available for order. The first application is a safety solution for offshore cranes. We monitor the safety area for the suspended load. We are preparing a portal crane project, and we still have pilots with the company Götting, iSpace, and dormakaba for automatic doors. Our LiDAR can be also used for other applications. We are in discussions for smartphones and tablets, for AR glasses, and for wind turbines. Which project can we approach together? We are looking for 3 million euro financing. 1.5 million euro are already committed. Please find our contact informations. We are open for investments, pilot projects, and partnerships. Thank you very much.
Awesome. And I think with that, we are going to go straight into our next mobility Q&A panel. Again, going to give everyone a second to unmute and turn their video on. Hey, how's it going, David?
Hey.
Cool, cool. I think also we got Shang and Eric and Mark. Perfect. I think we are just missing Ingo. Let's see. Hey. Okay, I think we got everyone online. Perfect. Super fun. So I think, you know, this, to me, this last kind of session, and certainly, you know, some of the technologies that you're all working on are related to, I guess, like data collection and kind of sensing in more specific ways. And I'm curious as to, like, especially with LiDAR, and maybe this is more of a question for Eric at Omnitron and Ingo, but you know, there are huge like data loads that are required with this, and maybe Viaduct, you can chime in from the side of kind of collecting that information and contextualizing it. But I'm wondering that challenge around like collecting information and making sense of it, like how do you view that challenge and that workload around the data that you're collecting, actually making sense of it, I guess?
So I can take an initial stab at that. So what makes data be digestible is making sure one key factor is making sure you have depth information directly measured from the data that's available. The simpler you can make the data to be digested and analyzed and pre-processed before putting it through sophisticated algorithms, it makes the problem a lot simpler. For example, if a bicycle all has the same range information, then it's easier for the machine learning algorithm to go, hey, this is a bicycle, but it's all in the same plane, things of that sort. Where if you have an image without depth, it's hard to really associate that as all bicycle, or maybe this is, especially if it's obscured. If it's partially obscured by a pole or something to that effect, these things become much more complicated by not having that depth information. So adding that degree of detail allows the problem to actually become simpler. It's just as an example. I think you're muted, Mark.
Apologies. I was just saying, thinking more about kind of computing at the edge or managing some of this where the data is being generated. And I guess the approach at hybrid LiDAR systems, I'm wondering if you're kind of thinking of that in a similar way, or are you just thinking of providing the sensor and then connecting to a system that's doing more of the processing?
Yes, Mark, thank you very much for the question. As the colleague said, we provide the data cloud together with the depth information. But what we are doing different from other from other LiDAR companies, that we provide very high resolution. So the LiDAR at the moment can have depth information, but suffer from a small number of point clouds per frame. For example, 10K, 20K, but what required is similar to camera. So half mega, 600,000 and so on. And the problem to provide that is that the calculation of the depth information takes a lot of electronics in the silicon level, which gives limited area for the active one, which is the photoreceptors, which define the resolution of the chip. That's why, as the presentation said, in our company, we invented this hybrid method in order to allow us to more space for the active part and small space for the passive one, and still deliver the depth information for the whole pixel size. And with this technology, we can achieve for one chip 120K until 240K.
Got it. Even shifting from there to maybe more a question around what the connected interior of the vehicle of the future looks like. I think that's maybe for Mark, and showing a question for you both. How do you envision, like, the future cockpit, or, how does it more tightly integrate to the person or the driver? I guess, like, how are you thinking about those questions of making it a more kind of encompassing environment?
I mean, our focus is, looking at what's made things more engaging in the other realms in which consumers are buying products. And, something that's visually engaging. That's traditionally been the best way of grabbing people's attention. And that's what's driven our approach to trying to taking all the things that people now see in concept videos for LiDARs, for ADAS systems, for virtual systems, etc., and just putting it right in front of you, essentially taking the technology that was originally developed for 3D TVs and taking advantage of the fact that because I know what a driver position is, I can do a lot of those visually engaging things without resorting to goggles or other cumbersome technologies.
Fair enough. And then I think maybe for, Mark, maybe a different approach as far as the human factors of the seating element, but are you thinking of the cockpit of the future as being kind of like fully customized, and that's some of the motivation behind Qumulus Seating, or where do you see that innovation coming?
Yes, that's correct, Mark. And I hope to offer you a seat by then, but not yet. But what we see in the future is that the car of the future will have a campfire type of seating where people are watching each other, and where the focus is, because of that, in automated vehicles, much more towards the experience of sitting and personalization of the seat. So that will certainly be different than it is today, and the focus will be much more on comfort. Since when you're sitting for an hour, that will certainly become uncomfortable in this small space where you can't stand up and walk around. So that's truly a vision of the future, and the seat will be able to recognize you in the future, and will look for those seating alternations that are comfortable for a person, and highly personalized.
Fair enough. And then maybe a question kind of continuing this thread for David and Viaduct. I know you have some applications for kind of in-vehicle personalization and kind of some of the software side that's needed for that. I'm curious as how you think about that problem of personalization specifically, not necessarily from like hardware side per se, but more from what you all are building.
Absolutely. And I think to echo what the other panelists said, I think it's very much a combination of hardware and software, where we absolutely started more as a machine learning company building fancy algorithms, but pretty soon on we realized that we essentially we're only as useful as the data we have. And to do that, we need the right systems in place, the right data capture approaches, the perfect amount of quantity as well as quality of data. And once you get all of that in place, then the personalization part comes easy. You take the same algorithms that they're doing on the internet to personalize your Facebook feed, and you just train that. You train those approaches on clicks and infotainment buttons and so on and so forth, and you can develop new tools and new systems. But again, the core challenge, what we've realized pretty early on, was that really is in the capturing, the cleaning, the organization, and the standardization of this data.
Super fair. And then I think we're looking a little sparse on the Q&A section right now, but I want to switch gears a little bit again, as I have been, and trying to get some insights from, I guess, smaller and leaner teams like the ones that you all are working on and building. And through COVID, what some tactics have been to maintain good communication, anything that you think like a larger company could learn about, how you're staying agile and how you're maintaining comms throughout the pandemic. I'm just curious to hear any insights.
Well, maybe I can kick off. We've been attending a lot of conferences actually in the field of innovative seating, and that really has delivered us a lot of contacts. On the other hand, automotive seating and the automotive industry is battered by the crisis, so their taste for innovation has also been reduced. People have been working at home, and sometimes even in the German automotive industry, people have been working half time or less time. So that has also reduced their innovativeness and the willingness to adopt new technologies. At least that's our experience during the last month.
Must be tough. Yeah.
I think for us in our company, it's been easier to network abroad. I think that's been one of the advantages of it's a lot easier to get a meeting with a company in Germany, for example, or a company in Japan that previously would have been much more difficult to arrange because of travel or time differences or just this culture of like face-to-face meetings. So it's been easy to kind of open those doors now. That being said, I think the depth of relationships has also been different. I think it takes a lot more work to get deal flow through because I think a lot of this revolves around strong relationships and that aspect associated with it. So getting involved with like plug and play, for example, and getting that value add of credibility with an event like yours has helped solidify us with other engagements. So that's kind of been the pros and the cons. Our foundry is still open. The people that work with are remote for most cases. So that's been our experience.
And we've been using AR to sell AR. Typically, we have physical systems that an engineer comes to your site to set up, etc. With the travel and other restrictions, we've actually been shipping AR glasses along with the blank system, and walking, essentially an engineer that's local on the sites puts them on, and we walk them through the process. Takes a lot longer, but it's easier than an alternative.
That's super fun. And did you build an in-house system to kind of provide that content, or are you using like an existing just like AR like engine to build that experience?
We have hardware left over from before our last pivot, so. Cool.
Hey, throw what you know. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Super amazing. Yeah, I mean, the resilience of you all as founders and kind of some of the kind of being quick on your feet of being a startup certainly is aspirational. So appreciate you all sharing that. And I think we're again coming up on time. So it's been a pleasure to chat, and we can kind of continue some of these conversations with the audience and everyone here today in Remo later on today. But I want to say thanks and catch you later.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. And as we get the slides transitioned over again, this will be our final little moment here with 3 startups. Excited to have Carbin AI, Heat Inverse, and Aichemist present. And we're going to kick it off with Carbin AI, but I wanted to take a second just to mention that in our Remo networking session, we will actually be having some international startups joining too. So again, more to look forward to. I'll cap this all off after our final startup presentations, but without further ado, Jacob from Carbin AI is going to take it away.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. Jake Roxon, I'm a co-founder and CEO of Carbin AI, solutions provider for crowdsourcing road conditions and connecting roads with vehicles. We provide a plug-and-go software solution for analyzing vibrations data from driving. With our patented AI approach, we offer new means of analyzing this data to enhance safety of drivers and lower vehicle operating costs. Now is the perfect time to use this because more than 95% of vehicles or drivers use some type of a telematics device. So your company or your client most likely already collect the type of data that we need for our analysis. The core of our product may be complex, but the beauty is that for you, this product is easy to use and simple to install. We have 2 products, an SDK for data collection and the core of Carbin AI, which is software that analyzes all this data through APIs or licensing. Our solution is fast and easy to implement by working in any vehicle and requiring no calibration. As a business user, all you have to do is deploy the software to your device and or server to analyze this data. We know it works very well, in fact, because we have already collected more than 500,000 miles of data. With more than 50 years of combined experience and tens of scientific publications on the topic, we are experts when it comes to road vehicle interactions. Secondly, with high accuracy of results and marginal cost associated with implementation and operations, it won't take long for your business to realize high ROIs. We're also backed by one of the fastest growing global telematics providers who has recognized the value of high accuracy road conditions data. We have already gained interest from 5 different companies where our data finds different applications. In supply chain and logistics, it is used for road management and saving money on operating costs. For Tier 2 automotive, it is used to identify optimal suspension parts for off-road vehicles. And for the telematics provider, it is to create a road monitoring network for vehicle-to-everything communication with various applications, including smart navigation and autonomous driving. If our vision matches your needs, we would love to have an opportunity to talk with you more to discuss potential POCs. We're specifically interested in strategic partners, investors, and above all, data-driven corporate clients who recognize the long-term value of roads connected to vehicles through V2X and V2I communication. As a final note, I'd like to leave you with 3 key points. At Carbin AI, we offer crowdsourcing software for road conditions. We use it to enhance safety and lower costs for road users. We've built beta products and are ready for POCs with clients who share our vision for connecting roads with vehicles. With that, I'd like to end and thank you for your time. If you'd like to learn more, please reach out to us using one of the contacts below.
Thanks so much, Jacob. And we're going to chug right along to Romy from Heat Inverse, working on more of the hardware inside hardware for vehicles for thermal regulation. Really excited to have Romy present what they're building at Heat Inverse. Waiting for a slide or 2 to change here. Hopefully everyone can take a sip of coffee. There we go. Okie doke. And as I mentioned, Heat Inverse is up next. I'll let him take it away.
Good morning from beautiful upstate New York. My name is Romy Fain, and I'm the founder and CEO of Heat Inverse. We make thin films that get cold without any additional energy input. I first came across this physics during my PhD here at Cornell in electrical engineering, where I was studying photonics at long wavelengths that correlates with heat. But I'm actually from the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, where I was a prototyping and manufacturing entrepreneur for over a decade. And I also went to UC Berkeley for my mechanical engineering bachelor's, where I did a lot of alternative energy harvesting research. So think thermodynamics. So now what we're doing here at Heat Inverse now is sort of spans that experience. We're making very practical, hands-on, durable, scalable materials for real world applications that are actually photonic hyperemitters in order to dissipate heat more effectively. You can kind of think of this like air conditioning in a thin film. Looks like this. As you can imagine, there's a lot of applications for a technology like this, but especially in transportation with refrigerated trailers. Our mission is to revolutionize cooling technologies and profitably reduce greenhouse gas emissions by more than 1 gigaton at full deployment. Because the problem is heat-related inefficiencies cost trillions of dollars and gigatons of CO2 equivalent emissions every year. In the United States, we spend more than $6 billion just on fuel for refrigeration and transit. And this means more than 29 million metric tons of CO2 equivalent emissions every year. At Heat Inverse, we make thin films that passively cool refrigerated trailers and reduce fuel costs for refrigeration by more than 25%. This means a fuel savings of $2,600 per trailer per year on average. And this is what our pipeline looks like right now. There's actually a lot more companies than this, especially in refrigerated trailers, but we also are organizing pilots in energy applications and also for electric vehicle roof systems. And that's why we're at this point, we're looking for corporate partners to share in distribution channels, but also potentially for manufacturing partnerships. And the team we put together is really stellar. We have depth on both the technical and the business side. And at full deployment, Heat Inverse will save hundreds of billions of dollars and more than a gigaton of CO2 equivalent emissions every year globally. With that, I'd love to take questions.
Great, thanks, Romy. And we'll certainly get some questions coming up here after Aichemist. And again, Aichemist, we're really excited to have them on the line to present, some of the updates since last time we hung out with Sergey, but working on battery technology innovation. So I will let him take it away.
We focus on ultra-thin nanofiber reinforced battery materials. Our team is founded by engineers with complementary skill sets. EV market is our primary focus. Increasing EV range at lower cost is the most important barrier for EV adoption and transportation industry. I will tell you why now, our roadmap and alternatives. Why now? The problem is that lithium-ion batteries have the low EV range, safety concerns, and high cost. The problem begins with current battery materials which have seen limited improvements and are not sustainable. The solution is sustainable lightweight EV battery using ultra-thin nanofiber reinforced materials. Our patent merges recycled metals and biopolymers from biomass. Nanofibers are lightest, greenest, strongest, making it the ideal material for increasing miles per minute of charge and safety. Our product strength translates to significant increase in both EV range and in cost savings over conventional materials because of the film reduced thickness and weight. In addition to this, EV range can also be increased to more than 600 miles with the introduction of perforated film and anode development. We estimate cost savings to increase from 5 to 7%. Roadmap for battery energy density shows products for lower weight and lower volume with our nanofiber reinforced materials, increasing the battery energy density significantly. This is potentially a game changer for EV. These images are our actual products we produced and show dense, perforated, and porous 3D films. These nanofiber reinforced copper films are 2-3 times lighter, thinner, and stronger. To give you a meaningful idea on our material, this table shows 3 key parameters. Green dot here is exceeding expectations, yellow going to meet, and red needs improvement. Don't need to be a scientist to see the multiples. Advantages are here and they're significant. Our copper and cellulose nanofiber material is superior to conventional material based on electroplated copper, hot-rolled copper alloys, or alloys with rare earth elements. Financial plan shows revenue growth from 27 million in 2022 to 268 million in 2025. As we scale up commercial products in 2021, revenue will comprise both product sales and in the longer term services to established customers.
Sweet. It was a pleasure to hear from Sergey Aichemist, and now we will have the triple pleasure of hanging out with Romy and Jacob and Sergey and hearing more about what y'all are building. I'll give a second for everyone to show up online. How are y'all doing?
Well,
good.
Well.
Excellent, super cool. So I know maybe this is a little bit of an odd mix. I think some materials focused projects and businesses, and then Carbon, definitely you guys are more on the data side. So I'm gonna try and parse out some questions here, but I think kicking it off for Romy and Sergey, you know, you're building businesses that focus on core materials innovations. You know, what does that make you think of as founders, or are certain things more top of mind than, say, if you were building a software company? I'm curious to hear about the development process and kind of what you're focused on as founders.
Yeah, so I heard that you were actually asking a lot of people about COVID, and you know that kind of brings to the top all of those issues with how hardware differs from software, right? we there's a lot of delays, software, you know, that software wouldn't necessarily come in contact with. We did have a lot of remote work issues and things like that we, you know, that COVID actually inspired us to overcome. We were kind of on the border of moving from a shared workspace where we shared resources for prototyping and all of that into a new space that we decided not to do that once COVID hit. But yeah, I mean, supply chain, those kind of things. But in the end, it's one of those things. For example, with supply chain, I think diversifying our sources and all of that. I think on the other side of this, we're actually going to be stronger on the longer term because we've had to, you know, solve some of these issues early on. But it lengthens those timelines. But you know, I think there's a lot of solutions that are needed in hard tech if we're going to solve the kind of problems with global warming that we need to solve. So
Fair enough.
It's worthwhile.
Definitely, yeah. And I think to that end, Sergey, how has development been for AI chemists, maybe when, you know, being in the lab is not as practical, or I'm curious if that's affected things at all for you all?
This is a question which I would like to answer in two portions. One is it's very difficult to compete for funding with SaaS business model. So we adapt some of elements of that in licensing business model to start with. So the elements are very similar with licensing model, but we have to build a good IP portfolio. And the second portion, yes, we have to produce material on daily basis. We cannot stop doing that. So we moved to new facility, MBC Biolabs in San Carlos, which operates 24/7. So with this move, we sort of using social distancing. However, we produce our material and we send it for testing to customers. So we didn't stop doing it to COVID. But in the sense, we're a little bit lucky to be accepted to that facility.
Amazing. That sounds great. And then I think I have a question to kind of tie together Romy and Jacob and maybe some challenges that you've been facing together as you're building your companies. But it seems like you're both looking to work with fleets and kind of whether that be on the trucking or on the kind of more automotive side. I'm wondering, from maybe you can each take this question however you want, but like, what's it like to work with fleets as your customers, you know, obviously maybe in the logistics space, or Jacob, you know, maybe speaking to some of the fleets that you're trying to work with for more data-driven solutions. I'm curious as to what that looks like.
So what does it look like? I would say we're solutions provider. So if there's a need to the solution that we're able to provide, the process of establishing a relationship is relatively straightforward, because we developed a plug and go solution, plug and play, where we work with existing devices, we work with existing data, and there's no process, no complicated process of filtering out the right type of data. There's no, for as long as we get the data that we need is relatively straightforward to obtain. And what makes our process unique is the ability to extract meaningful information for the business based on the existing hardware solutions. So it's the process is I don't know what else to add. It's relatively straightforward for as long as we can agree on the value.
For sure.
Yeah,
yeah. Go for it, Romy.
No, I was just going to say, so initially with COVID, you know, the whole logistics industry was sort of in upheaval, and we were really concerned and actually started to follow up with some of the potential customers in energy and other and electric vehicles, and that we thought some of these people had gotten in touch and were interested because we were concerned about trucking. And in the end, when we actually were able to get back in touch with everybody, there's still, despite fuel being at all-time low, it's still top of mind for them to reduce their fuel costs. So in the end, it's still a great beachhead market, but there's been some turmoil there, right? And what we found, and initially I wasn't really sure what was going on, right? Because you think it should be doing really well because everybody's getting everything delivered, but it turns out like there's some like the businesses that are more focused on the restaurant or hospitality industry, those guys are hurting a lot more. But then, a lot of these long haul southern routes are still like, busting at the seams really. So a lot of the people who were really focused on initially are still there, and in fact, looking for cooling solutions even more. But the other thing is that, for cooling technology, and this goes back to your hardware question as well, for a cooling technology that needs to be demonstrated outdoors, we also have a warm weather. I'm in Ithaca, New York. It was just snowing like 5 minutes ago. So timing, if we're doing testing here, is an issue. But I'm excited to say that we also just got into a program that's sponsored by the World Bank, and to make connections with pilots with companies in Mexico and Colombia. So some warm region places for us to test is one of the things that we're really we're really pushing to find those kind of hot weather testing locations while we're winter here with customers, with viable customers that.
Fair enough. That's super awesome. Congrats on the opportunities down there in Central America. That sounds awesome. I think we have one question here from the audience for Carbin AI. So for you, Jacob, what kind of OS do you support? Also, any kind of explanation around the requirements for the software that you run, CPU, memory, etc. It sounds like it was fairly plug and play as you were mentioning. So.
Right. So I think I'll need a little bit more information on their need, but in general, if it's an SDK that you're trying to install to collect the data, then it runs on Android and iOS systems, and it has minimal in terms of the storage. It collects less than 1 megabyte of data per hour. And sort of CPU memory, it's been developed in a way that it doesn't affect the performance of the phone in any way. So it identifies if there's a need, what sort of capacity the phone has to be able to transfer the right data. And it's able to detect if the device is actually capable of collecting the type of data that we need. So if it doesn't work, then essentially you're not going to be able to install the SDK. In terms of the actual software that analyzes the data, we have an API solution. So it's just a matter of sending calls and getting the data back in. There is a lot of input data that goes into the analysis, but in terms of the output, it's minimal. It's really minimal costs. That's why we predict. We've seen that within 6 to 12 months, companies will be able to get return on their investment, because the cost, the reason why it's at least 6 months is because we need 6 months of data collection in order to be able to provide meaningful results. In terms of the actual installation cost, there is not much to be added.
Cool. I think it sounds like the answer that folks probably wanted to hear. So that's really great. And maybe with that, I think we are again, unfortunately, coming up on time. So I appreciate all of you joining our final little panel Q&A here. Thanks, Romy. Thanks, Sergey. And thanks, Jacob. We'll see you in Remo. And I'm sure everyone in the audience can find you there as well. So we are going to move on to just some closing notes here from my end. I think as we get those slides up as well, we wanted to say a big thank you to a number of folks. So first of all, thank you to our mentors. So these are folks who've been assisting, guiding, just helping along with the startups in our cohort through the past few months. Again, a number of people to thank here. And really, you're part and parcel of the success of our startups through these programs and beyond. And then to anyone in the audience, if you're interested in being a mentor for future programs and kind of getting a little bit more involved in what we're doing with our programs and founders at Plug and Play, you can feel free to kind of find one of us during Remo or email someone who you know within our organization. We're always looking for more mentors, and it's a really great chance to work more closely with these founders. But again, thank you to the mentors. I think we have a few more upcoming items on the calendar here throughout the end of the year. So we're going to have our energy summit this afternoon. So that's coming up shortly. And then tomorrow will be FinTech and Travel summits. And then on the 19th will be InsurTech and Health. The registration links are there. I believe calendar invites should have been shared as well. And again, if you have trouble finding something, you can either reach out to me or anyone from the Plug and Play team will be happy to help you register. And I think we have another slide here. This is a quick reminder that we are moving to Remo for the networking session later this afternoon. I wanted to make a little note that we'll also have a few extra startups joining. They're joining from our international program, which focuses on leveraging Plug and Play's network for startups that are broadly working across the world. We're going to have a few startups: NextK, INP Global, AU, and Deep Insight. So find them there, just some interesting folks to meet again. And I think before I sign off specifically, I would be remiss to not give a huge thank you and warm round of virtual applause to all the founders who joined today. It's been a pleasure working with you over the past few months, and really appreciate the time that you spent with us today and to kind of present to our network at large. So no, truly hats off, and thank you to you all who've been working through all the struggles of COVID. So coming out on top. Anyhow, that's it from me. Again, I'm Mark with Plug and Play. Thanks so much for joining, and I'll see you in Remo later today. Cheers, everyone.